There we are. Preview. All right, we're going live. 3, 2, 1. I need beer. We're live. Look at that. I'm getting a beer. That's how we're starting this thing. Cracking open a beer. Thanks for coming on the show, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm super glad you're here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad that you're glad to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just got done with martial arts, and now we're here. I got dropped in my head. There's gonna be lag. I should actually change that. It's super
where
annoying.
Are you? 2 places
yeah, it's super annoying. And also if people comment, it distracts you. So I'm gonna put it on that, which is like what I'm actually broadcasting off of.
Oh, gotcha.
Some open software, open source software they broadcast off of. But
cool.
Yeah, we're on. Yeah, yeah. I got dropped in my head today. And you hit me in my head today. That's true. You hit me right here, dude. You hit me right in the spot where they teach like boxers to punch.
Right.
Which is interesting because we don't really hit there very often. The only time I think we hit there is like with an O-shoe.
Yeah.
You know, like right behind the jaw. But anyway, you fucking shoe-toed me right there, and I fucking saw a flash of light, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has made me like paranoid about getting hit in the head.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know. I guess you don't realize how delicate you are.
Your head is, yeah. Your head is super delicate. I mean, it's like your brain is super complicated and super easy to fuck up. You know.
Yeah.
That and bobcats. He's also made me afraid of bobcats.
Just from their coverage of like.
Well, he's afraid of bobcats, so he's always talking about big cats and how scary they are.
You carry a gun, don't you?
Sometimes, like, I don't carry it everywhere I go. We can talk about that too. I carry mine, my pistol with me when I feel like I want to carry it, you know? Which you're already looking at me like, oh no, I don't. I disagree with this.
That's Murphy's Law, like the epitome of it. It's like the one day you don't bring it is the
right.
You need it.
Well, I don't. Yeah, that was what would happen to you if you didn't carry your gun. That would be the day you needed it.
Yeah.
But I probably only have it on me like I usually take it in martial arts because I'm driving across town. But like there's certain times I just don't want to have it on me. Like I don't want to have it on me like when I'm walking and like thinking. I just don't like having it on me, and especially if I'm like going out and drinking. Obviously, I don't have it on me, you know, because it's illegal. And then, I mean, I don't feel like I would shoot anyone when I was drunk for no reason. I mean, I don't think I would shoot anyone for any reason unless they like I had to, you know, drunk or not. But that would be a bad idea, I think.
Well, I mean,
very Han Solo-esque, but
yeah, I guess it's probably just being older now. I try not to put myself in a situation where I would need to use a gun and be inebriated. So
yeah,
like I'm not gonna say anything incriminating on here, but like I mean I'm never out and about drinking anymore.
Yeah,
like never. I used to, but
you used to drink quite a bit. Well, you also had a kid, and I think that's probably changed you a little bit. I've definitely noticed a little bit of a change in your personality.
I'm more. I guess I'd say I'm more introverted now, just because it's like.
You got a little more serious after you had a daughter, which I think is pretty normal.
Right, but that's also one of the reasons why I carry a gun everywhere I go, no matter like just no excuses. I have a gun on me.
Yeah.
And but also I just don't go out as much and do as much stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I feel like I'm missing out. I just don't go out. I'd rather be home now.
Yeah.
And
well, you guys were really cute, man. This for those listening, how old is your daughter? She's over
she's
one
like
now.
14 months. Now.
14 months. Yeah, I hadn't met her yet. Because you haven't brought her to the dojo, and I don't know, I haven't met her yet. It's the first time I met her, but you guys were really cute. I looked over and I was looking at your daughter, and she was super cute, and she was looking at me like, who the fuck is that guy? Then I look over at you, and you're just smiling like, looking at your daughter, you know.
She's brought me way more joy than I ever would have thought. I've never liked kids.
Yeah.
Never liked kids. I've always thought they were burdensome and annoying, and then started listening to a lot of philosophy.
Yeah, it was mostly Stefan Molyneux, right? You
yeah,
still listen to him?
Yeah, a lot, yeah, very frequently. He's really good. And
I like some of his stuff. I have a few issues with some of the things he says, but anyway, what were you saying?
Well, a lot of people have issues with the facts he uses, which is, I mean, they can fuck off, because, I mean, if you want to beat him on facts, just bring up other evidence, bring up contrary evidence, and then there you go. There's your argument. But anyway, he made parenting sound much more of a challenge than a burden, and that was what inspired me. So,
more of a challenge, meaning like he kind of like challenged you, like.
Well, I mean, why do you do martial arts?
I guess
because it's challenging, right? It's something new to learn. It's something.
Yeah, it actually is. I had this conversation with someone the other day. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I think one of the reasons I stuck with martial arts and I liked it as much as I do. Excuse me. Is that I wasn't super good at it when I started it.
Right.
Like I was decent at it. Like I had done Taekwondo, so I could kick really hard and stuff, and I was really good at kicking. But some of the shit, and it's funny because also some of the stuff that I'm the best at is the shit I was the worst at. Like I think Dan's the same way. He was telling me have you heard that story where he fucked up those two people on a beach?
Yeah. That almost came up today, actually.
Yeah. He was doing that technique.
Right.
And that one technique where he punched the dude's arm off and then he broke his ribs. It's the knee-down technique. That was the one that he said he hated and he couldn't do, which is weird because it's really not that hard of a technique to do. It's like actually I think one of the easiest knee-down techniques I've ever done. Not that any of them are really that easy, but that one is not that hard. But he said he couldn't do it for whatever reason. That's the one he used, but. That's how I am with like a lot of my techniques. Like, I think the ones that I've gotten the best and I've used the most are the ones that I didn't pick up the easiest and had to work at to get. So I'm sure if I get in a fight, it's probably going to be that one where I
have to throw.
Yeah, it's going to be that throw. It's probably what I'm going to end up doing.
Well, so there's a shooting instructor I've trained under, and he always says practicing what you're good at is like masturbation.
Yeah. I've heard this. You've said this. What is the punchline? I can't remember.
Yeah, so practicing what you're good at is like masturbation. Sure, it might feel good, but you're only fucking yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, so that's the thing is like, so I had a student one time in a pistol class, and he rolled up with an XDS 45, which is a small single stack. It's a micro single stack 45.
That's bizarre because 45 is such a big round.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a 6 or 7 round capacity.
You think we go for a 9mm if you're gonna do that?
Anyway. Well, that's part of the punchline of this whole thing is. So he showed up with a very low capacity handgun, but the thing is that it's a small gun and it's a large caliber. So the thing about smaller guns is it tends to be more felt recoil.
Yeah, I imagine a 45 that thing would fucking be all over the place, right?
More than a 9, but small guns are just gonna recoil more. So he got to the class, and he took off his carry gun. The gun that he carries every day, he took off.
Which was the 45?
Yeah. And he put on a SIG 226, which is a 9mm high capacity, but the thing about the 226 is that it's a metal framed gun, so it's a heavy handgun, which means less felt recoil than the gun itself has more mass. So he took off a gun that is more challenging to shoot and put on a gun that he had already mastered, right?
Well, it's more fun, man.
Well, but he didn't. That's the thing is he didn't show up to the class to learn anything. He showed up to the class to look better than the other students.
Yeah.
And people like that are really hard to reach. So I told him to slow his shooting down. I mean, you can shoot as fast as you want as long as you put in the bullets where they need to go.
Yeah.
But if you're missing, like you need to slow down.
Yeah. Was he missing?
You cannot shoot fast enough to make up for. To make up for misses.
Okay, so isn't there the only argument for this is that Gatling gun that shoots like 1,000 rounds a second, and the idea is that you get more rounds on target because you're simply shooting faster.
Well, I mean, there's like miniguns and stuff.
Yeah, the minigun.
Those guns are not for one-on-ones. You know, like
they're
for area targets.
Yeah.
They're for machinery. They're for groups of people. They're for people behind cover. That kind of stuff.
Swig vehicles and stuff. Using right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in helicopters and stuff. Like it's not.
You're not Master Chief out there like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing. Like even ask any special operator, they're going to tell you that they use semi-auto. They don't use full auto.
Yeah.
So
well, Dustin says it all the time.
Well, I mean, everybody says it. Nobody wants to load out 210 rounds, which is a pretty standard loadout for infantry. 210 rounds, spray it off in 30 seconds, and then have nothing to go home with, you know. So anyway, the whole point of the deal was he took off the gun that is more challenging to shoot. He put on a gun that he had already essentially what he
was good at,
he mastered. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he shot the class very fast. He did everything quick. He was racing against everybody else. And the whole point is it's not a race.
Mm-hmm.
You want to improve, right?
Yeah.
So he took off a gun that he clearly...
Kind of like in martial arts, like when you tell people, hey, don't speed through it, you need to slow down and actually learn
Get the technique right.
Yeah.
Like, learn how to do it properly, right? So he was shooting really fast, and probably 1 out of every 3 or 4 rounds would be a miss. And we're talking about a steel target, which is like 12 by 14 or something like that.
I really like shooting at those because you get the immediate feedback.
Yeah, you know if you hit or miss, but that's the thing is like everybody else knows if you hit or miss too because they can hear it and they're watching you. So so he wouldn't slow down.
That's got to be good motivation to. You would think to make him slow down, right?
You would think because you're performing in front of people, and if you came to show up, like if you came humbly and you had some misses, nobody's gonna care. But if you're trying to show off and you start missing, then people might. And the thing is, I'm not even worried about him listening to this podcast because he clearly isn't seeking. He's not seeking to better himself in the world of firearms, so he's not going to listen to me anymore anyway. So, but he never took our advanced class or anything like that. He came up, he thought he passed the class, and he moved on. But the thing is that he brought a gun that he was already comfortable with and he already could shoot well, and he felt good about himself because he thought he was out shooting everybody else, and he went home and didn't learn anything. Because we try to teach 360-degree awareness, and so you're searching and everything, and he was just spinning circles, wasn't paying attention to what was changing behind him.
So I guess that it depends on what his mindset going in was, right? If he just went out there, he's like, hey, fuck it, man, I'm just going here to have a good time. That would be okay, right?
Right.
That's just what he's doing, right? That's what he wants to be there for, but.
He paid for it. He can do whatever he wants as long as he's safe. But he didn't get any. He didn't.
Right. But if you want to improve, you got.
He didn't get $150 worth of information out of the class he paid for.
He paid $150 to go shoot a gun for
to show off in front of people. Yeah. If you want to do that, there's IDPA. There's other places you can go and compete.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be a great.
That's $15. So.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he just went there to make himself feel good, and that's cool, man. Like if he wanted to take another class, I'd let him, but
take his money, right?
Yeah, but it's just kind of tragic because the thing is like when I'm practicing, when I'm taking classes. So I took a 2-day pistol class a little over a year ago, and I'm taking another one this October. To me, I'm a student of this art myself. I never stopped training, but I took that 2-day class with the gun that I'm weak with.
Is that your shield?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's...
So do you do a fighting class with a shield? Because it seems like it'd be really difficult. You'd be changing magazines a lot. And stuff,
right? You drain through magazines.
You just do it
you got to bring more mags.
Just because it's hard? That's why you do it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't... I could bring my Glock 19, but I'm very proficient with that.
Yeah.
I can... And it doesn't mean
I
can't...
You are very proficient with it. I've seen you shoot that thing. You're really fucking good.
It doesn't mean that I can't improve. And I'm still practicing and train with it, but it's not my focus because... I'm more proficient with it. I want to polish my weaknesses. Which the shield is a much harder gun to shoot than there's less places to grip, more felt recoil, lower capacities.
It's actually it's harder, but it's more. You actually almost end up having more fun if you start to get better at it.
Oh yeah,
because then you get
it's way more satisfying. When you can see improvement.
It's like what you said. It is kind of like masturbation to shoot something you're good at, right? Yeah. It'd be kind of like if I'm trying to think like what I'm good at in martial arts, like. I'm really good at joint locks. Like that's what I'm good at in martial arts. So if I just went in and just did joint locks, it's fun. I'll still do those too. But like what I need to work on is probably like throwing people. And so if like I'm working on Randori, I can throw people, which actually makes me think I should probably intentionally go into Randori and just try to throw people or something like that.
Just eliminate the use of joint locks for an entire session or an entire month.
Yeah.
Like just don't let yourself do it.
Don't do any joint locks.
Because the thing is that you get habitual about it, right?
Yeah.
Like and you train so often to draw a gun, 2 hands on the gun and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what happens if one of those hands is gone?
Shot.
And that's the thing.
That's what I like about your Instagram is you can tell you're actually doing it. You're like, oh, there's no one in the store right now. I'm gonna put in a whatever it is you drill with.
A dry practice session.
Yeah, and I know you actually do that too. I know you do it, and I don't do it like you do it, but I do it some too, and it just it does make you better. Like
you can dry practice every single thing you can do on a range except for send a bullet out the end of the gun and have the gun cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, it's the exact same. And the thing is, like, if you use... I don't like to play with the trigger too much because that increases your likelihood of a negligent discharge. So I treat myself like a 3-year-old and I check 3 times before I squeeze the trigger off. But I usually set up like a malfunction or something, and so draw, aim at the target, like look for a trigger press, or at least tell myself like that's what I did or something, and then fix it, like either a tap rack or reload. Yeah, and you can do everything in dry practice in your house, pointing in a safe direction, like a fireplace or something. So you have to treat dry practice as if you were actually going to fire a round. And the reason is because, so like, you know, we're in a basement right now, you have about 360 degrees that you can point that gun. That'd be fine. Yeah. Because if you launched a round off, you might have a hole in your wall, but you're not going to hurt anybody. Right? So, if you're in an apartment, like, you better have like a brick fireplace.
A bunch of brick to point at,
Yeah. And
that's what I do upstairs, if I have it upstairs. And a lot of what I do, and I don't, maybe you want to agree with this, I don't know, but sometimes, because I'm not like you know, I have other things I'm working on and stuff, but part of what I'll do is I'll just keep my gun in my holster, and I'll just grab it, and I'll just practice, like, pointing it a couple times, like, at something, and just, even that, I think, helps a lot. And it's actually harder to see your sights through with the holster on, so you actually, like, you have to look.
I see you do it with your holster on.
Yeah, I just do it with my holster on sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Part of that's because I'm in the city.
Sure. Yeah. I don't believe in right and wrong when it comes to firearms. The only thing that's wrong is if you violate the 4 safety rules. I think those are pretty concrete.
Remind me what those are. Those don't point anything you don't want to destroy.
Treat every gun as if it's always loaded.
Right.
Is number 1, and that really only is that's pretty much. That's the only real rule.
Yeah.
Is treat every gun as if it's always loaded.
Yeah.
The other 3 rules are just how to do that. It's how to treat it.
That's interesting.
So don't let your muzzle cross anything you're not willing to destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target. Know your target and what's beyond it, in front of it, to the sides, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
A lot of people just know your target and what's beyond it. I've added to in front of it to the sides because if you shoot a piece of steel or concrete, like, the bullet will fragment and go everywhere, and you can hurt people on the sides. So, I mean,
that happens more all the time, right? People get shrapnel from, like, bullets hitting.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty minor.
Get sprayed by it.
If you've been on a range enough, you get hit. I've gotten lead embedded in my arm and stuff before.
Really?
From bullet fragments.
Were you downrange of them, or were you, like, behind them and then it hit and it sprayed off of you?
I mean, it just depends on what you're shooting at. Like,
but the one that got stuck in your arm, or got wherever it got stuck.
Oh, yeah, it was like it was like shooting a big block of iron or something.
And it just splashed off of the iron. I imagine, though, if you're like here and I shot here, that would have a lot more velocity to it than.
Yeah, I mean, if you're standing next to the steel, that'll shred your skin up.
You probably get killed. I mean,
well, I don't want to say you couldn't, but the likelihood is low.
But it fucking hurt. I've got my paintballs breaking and that shit hurts.
No, it would hurt. It just does the projectile have enough mass at that point to penetrate too deep. And it'll fuck your eyes up. Like if you get it hit in the eye, I mean, it'll make you blind. It'll chew up your skin and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, just if you're gonna dry practice, just make sure you do it. Like, ask yourself, if a round went off in this direction, would I be worried about hitting something, or would you just be like, oh shit, I just made a loud noise in my house?
Yeah.
That's the way I treat it. I mean,
you'd probably still feel fucking off, but like, what the fuck?
You would startle the shit out of you. Yeah. But,
have you ever had a negligent discharge? You told me about that. You were doing a reload and it went off.
Yeah, so the one that I would consider, I would say, to be hard on myself, yes, I have. I haven't had a negligent discharge that was unsafe.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like, I know some people that have shot TVs and stuff, like
I'm sure it happens all the time.
They didn't expect a round to ever go off.
I'm sure it happens. It's kind of happen all the time, right? Did you know Lil Wayne shot himself?
Dude. I'm not surprised.
There's a story he came on and he was on someone's podcast and he was like, he had like a gun and he was telling this story to this interviewer and he's like saying he's in the mirror, like talking shit with his gun. And fucking shot himself in the leg.
Man, shooting yourself in the leg is no joke. People, that's one of the other things that gets me all the time is people are like, I don't want to kill anybody. That's fine. I don't want to kill anybody. I have no intention of ever hurting anybody.
Yeah.
If they bring the fight to me, though.
Yeah, that's one thing. If anyone doesn't know Dave, who's listening to this, Dave is one of the nicest people I know. He really is. He's a super nice guy, and you just believe in the right to defend yourself, which I think everyone should have that right, you know.
Well, we train to stop fights, and the fastest way to stop a fight is to put the bullets in the right spot, and those tend to be lethal.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we want to kill anybody.
Yeah.
If you fire one round into somebody and then they're like, okay, I'm done, I'm stopped, like, the fight's over.
Right.
You don't keep shooting.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people say, well, like, I don't want to hurt him. I get this all the time. People say, I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to kill them, so I'll just shoot them in the leg.
Yeah, that's a bad
Well,
idea.
I mean, they don't know anything about anatomy because your femoral artery is one of the scariest
that sounds like
places
someone,
to get shot.
That sounds like someone talking who watches a lot of TV.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most people get their information from Hollywood. And Hollywood is one of the most ignorant things in Hollywood is firearms. I mean, they don't understand anything about that.
Joe Rogan talks about that on his show with people who come on with guns. And they talk about, like, he'll, like, interview. He's interviewed, like, you know, a couple of, like, you know, SEALs that become famous. I don't know.
Pat McNamara on.
Is that the wingsuit guy?
No, Pat Mac is, I can't remember.
Does he have the big old beard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to about half of that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big name trainer.
Yeah, he does like a bunch of like exercise shit too. He's got like the things he's going like he was talking about moving in this plane. Is that the transverse plane? He was talking about he like swings that kettlebell around. It's a really interesting looking workout.
Yeah, that guy's on the clip of that.
That guy's a tough motherfucker. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. But probably wouldn't have to. He's probably a nice guy. You know, that's the thing about a lot of those people. You know.
Was it Jordan Peterson that said that a man incapable of harm is not a good man. A man capable of an incredible amount of harm but has it under voluntary control.
I think you put that on your Instagram, didn't you?
I didn't. No, it's been all over Instagram recently. I heard Jordan Peterson say that like a long time ago, and it's always resonated with me because that's, man, the most dangerous people I know, and I know probably some of the most dangerous people in the world. And I'm not saying that like in a military term. I'm talking about more civilian based, but I know people that carry like 2 Glock 19s.
Yeah.
And then like a gun on their ankle. Like I know people that carry tons of guns and have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours of formal firearm training.
Yeah.
Could put any police department to shame, that kind
of
stuff. And they are like the nicest, happy-go-lucky, non-violent people.
Sure.
You just don't want to fuck with.
Sure, yeah. Look at Sensei. Sensei's a super nice guy, but he can fucking twist you into a nut.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing is like I think one of the misconceptions about people that carry guns, gun owners in general, is that they have this fantasy where they're looking for a fight, and it's just not the case.
No, yeah. I think that's part of the reason I don't like to carry a gun all the time, is because it's a lot of responsibility to put a gun on you. You know, you got to be like, and that's why I don't carry all the time, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm thinking about work or other things, and it's just like, when I put it on me, it's just like, now I have this thing that I have to, this is an important thing, and I have to devote mental energy to this thing because it's a real fucking thing, you know?
Right.
It's not.
You're liable for everything about it.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
You end in a parking lot or something like that
Yeah.
because you're fucking around. Like,
Yeah. I'm pretty nice. I haven't been in a fist fight in a long time, since I went to like a year where I got in a couple of them, but I haven't done that in a while, so I'm not really worried about that as much. It's just, and one of the other things is I also, part of me is like, I got all this martial arts training, you know, if something does go wrong, I'll just fucking drop roll and run the fuck away or something like that too. I mean, it's an option as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, just, so, I run into this a lot online too. I'm a moderator on a fairly large Facebook group that's like concealed carry based.
Okay.
And, there's 30,000 members.
Okay.
And
let's go post this on there.
I thought about it.
This podcast on there.
I might actually. But the thing is that there's people all the time that'll say something to the effect of like, "Well, I would have just shot him," or something arrogant like. Well, it comes down to this: when your only tool is a hammer, all of your problems look like nails.
Yeah.
And so everybody thinks like, oh, they carry a gun, and somebody postures up to them that the solution is to shoot
this
them.
Motherfucker. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you see all the time, like people that and this is one of the common themes of the group is that we'll post good or like shoot no shoot scenarios, like where and it's not like a scenario, but it'll be like a video of somebody that gets into a confrontation and a gun is drawn and it's used, and the question then is, was it a good shoot or was it a bad shoot? And there's been times where it has been so obviously a bad shoot.
Ooh, that's sad.
And like tons of people would chime in.
What's like an example of one?
Okay, so there was one recently. I mean, it was probably about a year ago now. But this this old guy had gotten into a confrontation with somebody in a car in a parking lot of a gas station, and it was a female at the car, and so he was this old guy was just he was yelling at her and stuff, and so the boyfriend walks out of the mini mart and goes up and just slugs the old guy, like knocks him to the ground. The old guy draws the gun, or he's on the ground, he draws a gun, he points at the guy. Remember, like what I was saying earlier, like when the fight's over, the fight's over. When the guy's like, okay, like no more, I'm done. Like fight's over.
Yeah.
No more shooting. So the boyfriend knocks the old guy to the ground. The old guy draws a gun and points it at him, and you see the guy like kind of take a step forward and then a step back.
Yeah.
Fight's over, right?
Yeah.
Stepping back, that's in retreat.
Yeah.
And then the old guy, I think he launches 1 or 2 rounds into him, and he kills the guy.
Oh man.
And he was.
Well, he shouldn't have hit him. I mean, that's obviously true.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing is his guns are fight stoppers. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not like. There's a point. There's a point where, like, yes, was he assaulted? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was he still in a defensive position?
When he shot him? Yeah.
The drawing the gun and pointing it when that guy said, "Okay, I'm done." Like that's the fight.
Yeah.
it's over. And
I think there's. Okay,
I mean, it was a good like 2 or 3 second count, like 1 1,000,
Yeah.
2 1,000, bam, and it was like, there's so many people on there on the forum saying like, good shoot. He shouldn't have pushed an old man to the ground. Well, yeah, he's right. That was an assault.
Yeah.
The guy deserved to go to jail.
But he didn't deserve to die, especially when he was walking away. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
once you're in retreat, man, the fight's over.
Yeah.
You don't.
I mean, unless you're you're at war and you're trying to keep those guys from coming back or something like that. Which.
Well, it's 2 different scenarios.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
No,
like
it is.
that's
100%. Yeah.
So like like the guy didn't deserve to get pushed to the ground.
Yeah, I think I think some of that probably comes from not being trained well enough, right? That guy probably could have just had like a shit ton of adrenaline. Like, he might have even looked at that video himself and decided like, I shouldn't have shot that guy, but he just wasn't trained well enough to be like clear-headed enough to know not to do it.
Most people are undertrained. Most people that carry firearms are undertrained, and I'm not
That's
like
true for cops, right? You're saying that all the time. And
I'm not bashing cops, but
I think some of them are, right? Some cops are trained well.
Cops that want to be good gunfighters or I should say good gun handlers, are good gun handlers if they want to be.
Yeah.
But your standard cop is undertrained, and I'm not trying to bash them at all, because they don't choose the training they get from their academies and their departments and stuff.
I was talking to my neighbor, and he was talking. He has a crazy story. I'll tell you a little bit of it. But he was talking to. He got arrested on and they seized all of his firearms. He had like 30 firearms seized on the Patriot Act. They like thought he was a terrorist, and he wasn't a terrorist. It's a crazy story. I'll tell you some more about it in a second, but I don't want to derail us. Even though now I'm having trouble remembering what the fuck we were talking about. What were we talking about? What was I saying?
I was telling you. Well, you were telling me about your neighbor, because I was gonna say something about.
Right. Yeah,
training.
Right. Yeah. So okay, he I can't remember what country it was, but he's a bartender, and he was talking to a cop from somewhere in Europe, but they like. I can't remember what city it was. It was somewhere in Eastern Europe, but they like make the cops go like they don't all get to carry firearms, and the ones that do are like it's like the hardest job. It's one of the hardest jobs that he said to have in government is to be an officer carrying a firearm, and they make you like test every month on your proficiency. That you have to have like. I think you have to have like a master's or something like that to do it. All this crazy shit, and he was just talking about it. I mean, Europe is far less armed in general than America is anyway. But I don't know. I think if people are going to police people, there should probably be more of that, right? Like if you're gonna send people out in order to
the thing about like government taught gun handling is that they have a lot of liability, and so they're afraid to do too much. So they do a lot of like turn and shoot. So they'll like turn away. They'll do like a 180-degree turn and then draw and shoot. Like there's not a lot of shooting on the move. There's not a lot of shooting from cover.
Because they're like worried about people falling down and shooting themselves or shooting someone else or some shit like that.
Yeah. I mean,
I can see that.
They're very cautious, and I mean, like anything from the government, it's less efficient than the free market. So you see like free market shooting schools, and I'm not putting my school on a pedestal. My curriculum is. I don't think it's spectacular.
I bet you it's better than
good.
Denver PD. You know.
I would hope so. But it's good to get people started. But I tell all my students that there are great schools out there that can really take your training to the next level.
Shout out to Tactical Response, right?
Oh yeah, those guys are awesome. Yeah. They really are. They get flack online, and I think so much of it's unwarranted. But mostly it's just trolls. But anyway.
I haven't been yet. That's mostly where you go, right? Have you been anywhere else? Or
I'm going to Crosswind Precision this year, and I at some point I'm going to try to make it out to Thunder Ranch. There's a bunch
is that
of
the
places.
older guy
Clint Smith.
that Matt was talking about?
Yeah, Matt actually had made a plan to go out there, and then he never.
Yeah, he was talking about it, but he didn't go.
No, he's actually out in Tennessee right now taking small unit tactics, but. So, where was I going with that?
Where were you going with that? We were talking about. You're talking about your shooting school.
Oh yeah, well just training in general. Like, so I'm not saying that what they do is poor, but there should be more. And the thing about anything that's government based is not going to be the same quality as something that's free market, something that's private, and so when you take like a class ran by people that have done it before and they can actually do more, they're not regulated by an agency. You're going to get a lot more skill sets in the classes. Like this. I mean that I would bet like, and I don't mean this as like a judgment or anything, but you can kind of find out right now, like if you're listening to this and say you're in law enforcement, you're listening to this, if you have never shot while moving, I mean like forward, backwards, strafing, something like that. If you haven't shot
strafing side to side,
so
that's where you're like walking like this.
You're turning sideways and
you're doing the turret thing, right?
Yes, you're moving another direction. If you haven't shot from supine, kneeling, if you haven't shot to your feet, if you haven't shot from retention, if you haven't shot one-handed, weak arm, or strong arm, weak arm, if you can't do reloads, strong arm, weak arm, like one-handed reloads, if you can't clear
that's
malfunctions.
Something I haven't practiced really at all. That's something, if there's there's a hole in my suit, that's what I need to work on.
Yeah, clearing malfunctions one-handed. If you haven't, I mean, some people don't even necessarily train to clear malfunctions. I mean, like then you probably should check if you haven't done any of those things before, then you should check out a civilian school, because most police departments are not going to have. I don't think most police departments will have people shoot fetal or supine or anything like that.
It's fetal where you're shooting like you're like all set up.
You're in a fetal position and you roll to the side outside of cover.
That's a really neat way to shoot. I really like that. Sexy.
Yeah, it's an efficient use of small amounts of cover.
It's badass. Yeah, it's one thing I know would work too, having just done like paintball and shit. Like that's like a great thing to do. I can totally see that.
So here's another thing that you can, if you don't know about mechanical offset or height over bore. So there's a friend of mine, actually he's a student of mine.
Height over bore is when if you're getting closer, right, you have to adjust where the rounds are going.
Yeah, so your sights are not in the barrel, right?
Right.
Your sights sit above the barrel.
Right.
So there's an offset of where the bullet will actually land from where your sights actually are telling you where the bullet's going to go, right? At certain distances, because you get to a 0 and that's where the bullet crosses that plane, right?
Right.
So
because there's a certain point, because at a further distance you have to shoot above, right? But then at a certain point you have to start shooting below. Is that right?
So you have to shoot. Okay, so at close ranges you have to aim high.
Right, because the target's like here. If I'm put this.
So here's your barrel. Here's your sights.
Right.
So if I'm shooting my hand, I have to aim. If my sights are saying I'm going to hit the center of my palm, the bullet's going to go under my hand.
Right.
So I have to aim over my hand.
Right. So you have to aim high.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like EOTech.
So you have to aim high, close, and far. Because if it's far away and the bullet's starting to drop, you need to aim
with
higher.
bullet drop, you do have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's for different reasons.
At a further, it's different.
Bullet
reasons,
climbs
but...
to your 0 and then drops past your 0.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyway, a student of mine was telling me a story about he was really excited. He was going to get to go train with a SWAT officer, and our mics aren't plugged in.
Fuck. I hope we heard that shit. Damn, man. Fuck. I was in a hurry. I wonder how bad.
Going in 52 minutes too. Jesus. That's so embarrassing. God damn it, man.
I wonder how bad the audio is going to be. I mean, it does have a mic in it, so it's probably getting some of it.
It's probably going to be pretty quiet.
It is probably going to be pretty quiet. Yeah, now it's working, but shit. Fuck, man.
I was looking at that and I was like, there's no way he did that. And I was like, following the trend.
Oh, man. That just bums me out. Fuck. Should we restart and take it all again?
You can. That's fine with me.
Oh, man.
It's a live stream, though, right?
It is a live stream. I mean, we could start. Joe Rogan's done it, but
you could just make, when the video goes up, you could just make a timestamp to say where the audio
started up again. Yeah. Shit.
So anyway, this will be a good story though to start on. Okay, so
there's some audio probably, but
I'm sure that people can hear.
We just realized the mic wasn't plugged in. That was just totally my fault.
But this will be a good story to start. So, so a student of mine was telling me a story about how he was gonna, he had trained with me a little bit, but he's like, I want to see like what else is out there. So he had an arrangement made to go and shoot with this SWAT officer, thinking that it was going to be like some high speed stuff. Mm-hmm. And but then he apparently the officer got sick or something and had to skip the range day. But somebody was like telling my guy a story about the officer, and he's like, yeah, so like one time so like it's you hear it from somebody and then it gets passed down. So if he told you the story, it would sound a little bit, it wouldn't be as jumbled. So I'll just do the best I can. But the story goes that he was in his patrol car and he saw like a deer get hit by another vehicle, and so he like rolls up behind it, and the deer is incapacitated but alive.
The deer?
The deer, yeah. So
okay.
the deer gets hit by a car, and he's like, all right, well, we'll kill it. And so he gets his AR out of the back of his car
to fucking shoot the deer.
And he looks through the sights, aims at the deer's head, and squeezes the trigger.
Shoots bright blood.
And he misses it.
We're talking about hide over bore because y'all couldn't fucking hear us earlier.
If you miss it. So we're talking about like mechanical offset on a rifle. And
is that another word from hide over bore?
Yeah, mechanical offset.
Okay.
It's like same thing.
Okay.
Hide over bore, mechanical offset. If I'm wrong, somebody else can correct me. But
now they can hear us. They can correct us.
Yeah. So he misses, and he didn't understand why. Well, this isn't just like a patrol officer, right? Mm-hmm. This is a SWAT
officer. Yeah.
So if you needed any indication that Uncle Sam is not very good at teaching people how to do things, that would be your number one thing.
Right. By the way, if you're just coming in, we don't have anything against police officers. We're just saying that training isn't as good as some of the stuff you can get in the free.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any martial art, like cross train. Try to seek all the information. There's always secrets to be held at other places. But anyway, the whole point of that was just that like my friend said he was so turned off by that one thing that he was like, all right, I'm not going to go train with them. And the thing is that mechanical offset is the first thing I teach my students in a rifle class.
Really?
Yeah. I tell them to aim at the center of the dot, and they're about 3 yards away, and everybody misses. And if you hit it, then you did it wrong. So I'm like, all right, aim right here. And so everybody's, some people know ahead of time, but brand new people to rifles and brand new, they're like, I aimed right. What? And they kind of have like some confusion.
Yeah.
Like, good. Like, if you missed, you did it right. Mm-hmm. So now what you need to do is adjust for that, aim that much higher at this range, and then you'll get your hits. So yeah, that's the whole thing is Uncle Sam isn't good at teaching people how to use guns. Yeah. And you can ask like,
well, what about? I mean, there's some people that like there's some special operators and stuff, right?
But that's a different level. That's not like basic qualifications where people are like, yeah, you know how to use a gun. Because I mean, the moment you tell somebody they know how to use a gun, they like especially dudes, they think like, oh, I guess I know how to use a gun.
Yeah.
And there's like this wide world of skills out there to be to gather, and men have egos, so once we're told that we can do something proficiently, we're like, oh, yeah, I don't need any more training.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. It's like,
and I bet they don't. They probably, and I mean, if I was teaching a bunch of people how to go to war, I would want them to have confidence. So even if I didn't teach them that well, I would want them to know, oh yeah, you know how to use a gun. We don't want you to think you don't know what you're doing before you go out there, right? Like you'd want them to be confident. So I could see that being the thing too, just from a practicality standpoint. It's probably the same thing with police officers, honestly.
So with some of my favorite conversations, I don't really get involved in them too much, but some of my favorite conversations to watch or to read on that forum I guess if I have to reintroduce it. So I'm a moderator on a Facebook group that's about 30,000 people. And there's a lot of law enforcement, there's a lot of military guys on there. And it's funny, you can tell, like, there's a lot of law enforcement and military guys that train outside of law enforcement military. They take civilian classes. And it is so funny watching them, like, reading their stuff, trying to convince other LE and MIL guys to go get civilian training.
Really?
Yeah, because they're like, look, we have the same training as you, and it's not as good as this stuff. So go get this stuff. And there's people, and there's always like the whole circle of like, well, I've already done this and I don't know what I'm doing on, and then blah, blah, blah. And people just look for excuses to not seek further knowledge. That's what it comes down to.
It requires a lot of energy.
It does.
It requires money, it requires all that shit. So, and people just, like you said, it's easier just to say at home and think you're the greatest, It's a lot easier. It takes a lot more humility.
Well, there's that like, that post that it came out a little while ago. I don't know. It was some big thing on Instagram, but it was, white belt is a higher rank than sitting on the couch.
Yeah,
it's very true.
That is true.
They're
Hold on, I'm going to make sure this is going. I'm going to brush this and see if it works. It seems like it's working, right?
Yeah, I can see the meter bar.
Okay, sorry if that was loud, guys. All right, now I'm paranoid. I swear I'm gonna like put a big sticky note right here, so next time I have a podcast, I don't forget. That's so fucking funny. Anyway, yeah, man.
So all in all, if you carry a gun, if you carry it ever, if you have a gun for self-defense, like, seek training. Like, even if you think you're proficient, go out and prove yourself wrong. Find weaknesses and find gaps in your skill sets and go and train more.
Well, yeah, I think that's the way to be the best at things. I think the problem is that it requires energy, and I think a lot of people just don't have the time to go do that kind of shit.
Well,
it's a lot. It's even if
it's worth doing, you will make the time.
Yeah,
you can come up with all the excuses in the world not to do something, but we're talking about something that your life depends on, right?
Well, especially if you're a police officer and stuff. I would definitely think if you're doing that kind of stuff, definitely go do that kind of stuff.
But people think that they can buy a gun and that if they have it in the house, then they have security just because the object exists.
Well, so here's my thought. Like, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that if you understand your weaknesses, right? If you're like, listen,
but that's the thing is people don't.
Right. It's different if you're like, hey, I got a gun and I'm awesome. I'm a badass, man. Look at my fucking gun. I'm gonna go out and fuck people up. No one can kill me. I'm so good. I was in fucking Air Force. I know what I'm doing. Some shit like that. But I never went to the Air Force, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that's one thing when you say that like you act like you know what you're doing when you really don't. If you're modest about it, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. But hey, listen, man, I got a gun, and I either can't afford it, or I don't have time, but I know I'm not great, but I do a little bit of practice. I do what I can, and I have this thing, just in case, if there's a certain kind of issue where I need it, whether shit hits the fan or there's just someone breaking into my house or whatever. It's when people aren't modest and they're talking shit.
Yeah, humility is a thing. So like, if you're humble about it, that's fine, but your humility should point you in the direction of training, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think you should, if you're going to do it, you kind of take on a little bit of responsibility. I think when you get a firearm to do that a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean
and maybe that's why I don't carry as much, because maybe I don't train as much as I would like to, know. So that could be part of the reason that I don't. I mean, I do sometimes, but that might be another thing with it as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else do you think?
I don't know.
Let's move into conspiracy theories. I want to talk to you about those. You got any interesting ones for me? You got anything juicy?
Well, I mean, my whole thing on conspiracy theories is I think it's arrogant not to at least look into them.
Yeah.
If you, people that just no, I'm not listening. That's a conspiracy theory, or people that just brush it off as a conspiracy theory. I think it's really arrogant, and it's not respecting the capabilities of people in power.
Yeah. Well,
So the thing is that there's so many declassified conspiracies out there now.
What's a good one to like bring up?
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. Yeah, that's where they were doing the mining experiment shit, right?
In the 60s and 70s, and it's
Since it was telling me they were also like they did some shit during that. I think maybe it was MK Ultra, or it was a different one where they were like poisoning a bunch of people with radiation just to see what the fuck it did to them.
Yeah, they did tons of that kind of stuff. There's Project Paperclip, Project Northwood.
Yeah, that's where they brought over all the
Nazis.
Germans.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they got us to the moon. So
yeah, I mean,
it's,
the Gulf of Tonkin was that. What am I saying there? Well, there's just a ton of things that I mean. There's been false flags, like the destroying our own vessels in order to start wars and shit. Like
I haven't
that's
heard
kinda how
that.
Vietnam
Talk about
started.
that.
Yeah,
Really?
well, I wish I knew more about it. But the thing is that like, if you can't blindly follow everything. You can't just you can't just listen to Alex Jones and
by the
believe everything
way,
he
did
says.
you watch the Joe Rogan with him?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was super interesting.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting about that is Joe is sitting down there talking to him, and then he'd be like, "Alex he was a really interesting. I've never really ever heard him talk before. I've never really looked because he was like talking like this, the entire time.
Yeah, he's very animated.
Yeah, and he had his arms up above the mic, and he was going like this, and it was really interesting because
Now I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah. Choke me out. You gotta tell him what's
Come
his
on,
face.
Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie probably.
Choke me out.
That was so funny. It was interesting to me about him is that he, everything he said straight out was true. Like because I thought he had some like these crazy ideas that he was saying. Like he thought that like they were making like Chimera and like all this crazy shit to like make this breakaway. He kept saying breakaway government and like breakaway society and all that shit. And but so that was all kind of crazy. But what was weird about it is that like a lot of the shit he said, like Joe Rogan was like, "Oh yeah, that's true," and then he said it, and like what I can't remember. He said that about a couple things, but one of the things was the Chimera, which was weird. I looked it up, and I really don't think that anyone's out there trying to create animal-human hybrids that take over the world. But
that's the thing. Is like.
But they are making animal-human hybrids. I looked it up. That's a real thing. They actually were doing that shit.
What they are doing and what their intentions are two different things.
Right.
So that's the thing is like, Alex is commonly right on what people are doing.
Right.
What their intentions are.
What he's describing to it is probably where he gets a little crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't listen to Alex Jones, but and I'm not super big into conspiracies, but I think that there's just a lot more going on than we give credit for. So the conspiracies that I do believe, it's do you believe it? There's an immense amount of evidence for is central banking being a controlling system.
Controlling system?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're talking about like shadow governments and stuff like that, like the banking is the number one thing that if people. So here's the thing. Is the Federal Reserve part of the government?
It's technically not, right? It's like that's like the definition is technically its own.
It is owned
right?
by. It's a private bank owned by.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a private bank. Yeah.
And they print our money, and they loan it to the.
Who's in charge of that right now? There's like one person that controls the entire fucking thing.
Well, the chairman is.
You sure you don't want one?
I'm good.
You want a sip of mine?
Yeah, I'll have a sip.
You want greens?
Yeah, I love IPAs.
It's experimental. You can have another sip if you want.
Yeah, I'm good.
No one can hear me drink the first one.
Yeah. Jerome Powell is the chairman, but that doesn't mean anything. Of the Federal Reserve.
Right. What do you mean it doesn't mean anything? You saying he's a figurehead puppet kind of thing?
Yeah, it doesn't.
So okay. So
they have private board meetings. I know, like.
So okay, wait. You said that. So you said that there's a lot of evidence for. You said shadow government. What do you mean by that? It's like people in the background kind of pulling the strings, or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to act like I know more about it than I do.
Well, you know more about it than I do right now. You
Sure.
look into this stuff right now. I'm just kind of curious your take on it.
I guess I would.
But I don't want to derail your gun stuff and all that. It's just something.
Oh, no,
we
that's
talk
cool.
about.
I would rather point people towards the evidence than try to explain it myself. So there are elite factions of people that are, they've made it onto the world stage through their wealth, and they continue to perpetuate their desires through monetary systems, and monetary control. And there's a bunch of evidence that'll show you that just about every single war from the American Revolution till now has been funded by these banks, or has been at least in conflict because of the banks. Almost every single president that has ever gone up against the banks has either been assassinated or has an attempted assassination. You can look at Kennedy into that. You can look at Lincoln with the greenbacks.
They were like against the banks. They were like trying to rail against the banks, essentially.
Like Jackson. Jackson's dying words was, "I killed the bank."
I killed the bank.
I killed the banks. Yeah, because he didn't renew the contracts that the banks had. Because they were.
Apparently, he didn't actually kill the bank, so that's essentially going on.
Well, he did. He did until 1913.
When was Andrew Jackson? Right? When was he president?
18.
I'm bad with my American history sometimes. Certain parts of it, I got a little bit of a hold on. World War II, I got that down, but
yeah,
but anyway,
I don't want to.
1830s until 1913. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So what did he do to the banks?
Well, he didn't renew the contracts in order. I don't want to say anything.
Well, it's
wrong,
fine.
But let me stick with what I know.
Okay.
All right. So the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was. So when Woodrow Wilson left office, he's actually quoted saying that he destroyed our republic. He says something to the effect of, "I'm a very distressed man."
Woodrow Wilson. He was the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
And so it was after the Federal Reserve Act.
No, this is after he left office.
Okay.
But he let's actually let me pull up the quote.
Okay.
So
we need a Jamie.
I know we do need a Jamie.
Make sure the mic's plugged in.
Yeah.
And stop us before minute 55, I think, is where we were at. So unfortunately, we went all that talking. I wonder if the audio is that bad. I mean, my mic might have got a little bit just poor audio quality. It's just so unfortunate. No one wants poor audio quality.
I know. Man, you just got to get on that shit.
We may have to do this again, Dave. We may have to find another day that you can come over here and do it again, since we kind of fucked at the beginning. So.
Hold on, I got this.
Take your
time. So he says, I am a most unhappy man. Where is the whole quote? Why is it giving me the first few sentences? There we go. I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the most ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. Woodrow Wilson, after signing the Federal Reserve into existence.
That's interesting. There's a Joe Rogan you should probably go listen to if you haven't already, that I thought was really interesting. There's a guy who was he was a political journalist, and he did a TED Talk on. It's the guy's. I think his name is Lawrence or something like that, and he does this thing where America is controlled by the Lawrences, and he says that
the people that control all the funding for like political campaigning, and actually control people getting in office, it's the same amount of people that have the name Lawrence or some shit like that. And it ends up being like not very many people because Lawrence isn't a very popular name. And it was really interesting. He was just talking about, and there's like two people in particular. They're at the top. They're like brothers or something like that, and they have like a lot of money in like oil and natural gas and like a lot of the fossil fuel stuff and stuff like that. But it was really interesting. So I could definitely see how there's a little bit. That's the problem with power being centralized, though, right? I mean, it becomes like a corrupting force. People.
Yeah. Well, that's why we don't need it.
Want to seize it. So So this is my like issue though with the anarcho-capitalist thing, is that I think what it neglects is the fact that people build governments naturally when put together. And I think I don't really have any disagreement with like a lot of your ideas on like the fact that the free market is probably the best way to go in pretty much every argument. But what I think it ignores is the fact that people just do it. People just fucking do it. When you get people together, they consolidate power, and it's just something that happens.
Yeah, but it's by consent or force is the question.
I imagine it's going to be by both. I mean, I imagine people are going to get together.
And they're wrong.
What do you mean?
If you force somebody to act a certain way.
Well, I definitely think it's wrong. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. But people are going to do it, and the government's already this big, and it's going to do it.
So that's
federal legally for me to smoke that marijuana right there. But
and it's wrong for them to tell you not to.
Of course, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But so here's what I think. This is what I think. I think that people get together. I think people run in cycles because I don't think it's fixed. I think what happens is people get together and they build something and it's pretty and it works for a while and then it gets bigger and bigger and then it collapses. I think this is what happened to Rome. I think Rome got together and they're a bunch of badasses and industrial and they got together and then I went there with my parents once and the tour guide was telling us about it and they talked about how like the people running for government would like throw these lavish parties where they would have like they'd throw like and then each time a new person came up they had to throw a bigger party. And he was telling us, or she was telling us, I can't remember who was giving the tour, but they were telling us that by the end, like when Rome fell, they were partying like 200 days out of the year or some shit like that in the Roman capital. Man, they were just partying the entire time, And I think that's what happens. I think something starts and then it grows and then it gets to some critical mass and then it collapses and then everything breaks down and then something comes out of the ashes of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if their partying lifestyle is the reason why the Roman Empire.
But it was probably what I see when I see that.
I'm sure the attitude.
I think of liberals when I see that. When I think that I'm like, hey, I just want you to give me my shit. I don't want to work for my shit. I want you to give me my shit. That's what I think. I think when I see like a lot of the stuff in the liberal. I don't want to say liberal, but the leftist. That's what a lot of the leftists are saying right now. Is hey, I want free college and I want free jobs and I want free shit. And that like I just deserve it because bad shit has happened to me in my life because it's whoever I am.
They have no concept of cost. They have no understanding of cost.
Well, what do you mean cost?
Well, I mean, are teachers going to work for free?
They just like I think it's like it's no concept of like shit. People have to work in order for you to have this
cost.
shit.
They have no concept that of expense. They have no concept that people's time is worth money.
Yeah,
it's worth an exchange rate.
Well, money and time are like the same thing. The reason you get money is you can buy other people's time and labor. And if you're just giving money away for shit, you can't buy any labor. That shit is pointless.
But that's exactly the point, right? Is that the left doesn't accept the fact that labor is labor for capital or labor for money is a transaction. They think that they don't realize that when I buy a beer from you, so if I gave you $1 and bought a beer from you,
okay,
that's a transaction. They don't accept that would be the exact same thing as if I was like, hey, can I go mow your lawn? And you give me money. That's a transaction. You're buying a product from me. You're buying a mowed lawn, or you're paying for my time, or whatever it is, whatever the decision is.
Yeah.
Whatever our consented decision is, it's a transaction between two consenting people, and that's how it should be. So when you say we should have free college, okay, well,
It's not free. Someone's got to work to get you to college,
somebody has
right?
to get paid for it in order to survive. They're not just going to do it for free, pro bono. Like, dude,
even if they wanted to, they couldn't. You know, you got to support yourself. Yeah.
I mean, fine. Okay, so give the teachers free room and board. Okay, well, I mean, fine. So who's gonna pay? Who's gonna pay for that? And it's hilarious. So and that's the thing too, is like when people say, well, you know, healthcare is a right. Well, you have a right to be healthy. You don't have a right to a doctor's labor for free,
right?
Because you are unhealthy.
I agree. Yeah, it's the problem is it feels like you're being mean, but it's like, listen. Oh, we wish we could just give you this shit for free, but the problem is if we just start giving away everything for free, the shit's gonna break down.
Well, capitalism is mistakenly looked at as being like this selfish, like damaging thing, and it's funny because capitalism is actually the most communal thing.
100%.
Because in order for me to have my benefits, I have to benefit you. I have to provide you a product that you will pay me for in order to benefit me. But the definition of a transaction is two consenting parties where both are better off afterwards.
Sure. Yeah.
Or at least they believe they are. You know, like you can say you can go buy.
You can fuck with people. You can be seedy and like. But those people don't go. Those people go out of business.
Or I mean, you could also say like, you know, I'm going to buy meth from you, and it's going to destroy my life. So at the time, I think I'm getting it better, and it also ultimately destroys me, makes me less happy. But at the time, I was a consenting adult, and I bought the meth from you, or something like that. Say that was the case.
Well, my thought is that drugs in general are usually. You're buying them to cover up some other pain, it's not really drugs that are bad anyway.
I don't want to dive too much into drugs now, but
you believe they all should be legal, though?
I believe every drug should be legal.
Yeah, you believe pretty much everything should be legal.
I think
like taking people's lives.
I do not believe in any. I don't believe in victimless crimes, and I know a lot of people are like, well, drugs aren't victimless crimes; they destroy people's lives. Like, well.
The war on drugs destroys people's lives.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, yeah, and also like alcohol destroys people's lives, but should that be illegal? Like, no, it's just,
that's one of my favorite examples.
If you destroy your own life on it, like that's, I mean, I hate to be cruel, but that's your problem, and it doesn't mean I'm not willing to help you. It just means, I mean, I just don't think you belong in jail for it.
Right.
So the thing, I mean, there's no such thing as a victimless, or I'm sorry, a victimless crime is
not a crime.
Is not a crime at all.
Yeah.
I mean, true crimes would be theft, assault, rape, murder, fraud, real fraud, not like you didn't pay money, you didn't pay your theft to the government or something like that.
What do you mean, like, what would constitute real fraud to you?
Well, I mean, lying to somebody to get money, like to get money out of them, you know, saying like, hey, pay, you know, like.
So in your system, though, there wouldn't be a punishment system other than like social punishment.
I don't know what the answer is for that. I think there's a lot of different opportunities to be taken. I think there's a lot of different solutions. I think there'd be private courts. I think there'd be private security system or security firms. I believe that there'd be essentially private police forces.
Yeah.
And they would all be
I think that too. I think so one thing Joe Rogan talks about a lot when he talks about like not being a full-on like capital, like even libertarian, I think is the word he uses, because I don't even know if really anarcho-capitalist is on his radar, but
I mean, he's aware of it. He's had Adam Kokesh on. He's had...
Who is Adam Kokesh? I always hear his name.
He's a somewhat famous anarcho-capitalist. He's been arrested a number of times.
I should go listen to that one.
Won't you work?
But one of his big things is like, what about the fire department? You know, the fire department is a socialist system that he said, in his words, says it's something we should all have.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree that we should have it. I just
think
disagree with how it should be funded. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like does the government give us?
I guess
Walmart?
The question is well, that's true. I guess the question is like, would it still exist? I tend to think it would. I think so here, because I got in this argument with this discussion, whatever. I feel like people don't like the word argument. They feel like, but I think arguments are good as long as you're civil with each other. But anyway, so I got in this argument with my last podcast guest, Alan, a while ago, and like he was worried about he had like two things. One thing is he didn't think the roads would get built. But
who will build the roads?
Exactly, yeah. But But look at Elon Musk and what the fuck he's doing. That guy is revolutionizing all of transportation. I mean, he's fucking building tunnels. You know, like I mean, that's a guy right there who's not doing it because he's in the government. This guy is doing it because, hey man, I'm gonna make some shit better.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Like, you know, the government doesn't provide food for us. I mean, who will grow the food?
Yeah.
Who the hell would grow the
farmers,
food,
bro?
Private industries now have a better space agency than our government.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The government doesn't grow food. Even if it tried, it would be really inefficient.
I bet it would. It does subsidize and make everyone eat way too much corn.
Yeah.
It just fucks up the food system.
But, I mean, but the thing is, like, the whole who will build the roads thing is so asinine. If Walmart builds a building over here and your house is over here and you're both looking at each other like, fuck, how do I get over there? Like, why are there parking lots?
Yeah.
Because private businesses want people to have a place to park so they can shop.
Yeah.
Well, same thing with roads.
Right.
Like, there would be a free market solution. Like, here's the thing. So you have this town of people, and they don't have a state, and they're just like, oh, shit, like, well, I guess we're a town, but we don't have any roads. We don't have a government to pay for them. I guess we just won't have any. It's just silly.
I just thought of something.
It's silly to think that people would not come up with a solution to that.
No, I think they would. I really do. I really think they would. I don't know if this answers the question of like why do humans create governments and why do they want more and more. I'm not sure it answers. That's the only issue I have with it is just like I don't think it there's that fundamental truth about people. It's like how do you
so here you go. This is I think that if people grew up in a place where there was no state, they would think that the idea of a state was silly.
Yeah.
Because imagine this. Okay, so you have kids that grew up in a stateless society, and they're used to, you know, the fundamental, I guess you could argue rights for rights is a long discussion on, but
there's always going to be disenfranchised people, though, who want something from the bigger thing, and they're going to get a voice, and they're going to change it.
Well, I mean, if they don't have something to exploit, I mean, the reason why you have like voices in people like, well, we need more healthcare, we need all this, it's because they have
something there.
Yeah, they have something that can build up already.
But if you had 100 people and you just put them together and you just dropped them there, and you went and told them like, hey, listen, you're the gods or whatever, you dropped them, hey, listen, you shouldn't have a government. I think what would happen is someone in there would get a voice and they'd be like, hey, listen, guys, we got to get together. We got to put someone in charge and we got to make them do this.
Right.
And eventually,
hierarchies are natural for sure.
Yeah, and then eventually that person's going to get on top, and then it just snowballs from there.
Sure.
Until it blows up.
Right, and I don't disagree with that unless you have like children that grow. This is the thing. It all starts with kids, right? Why are people so hung up on the fact that we need a state?
I don't know.
Because they've never grown up in a place where there wasn't one.
Right.
They think
that's part of my point, though. There's not a place in the world that's truly anarcho-capitalist. There's not even really a place that's libertarian. I mean, America's probably the fucking closest you can get, right?
Yeah, probably. But
and it's pretty heavy.
There are a couple micro states that are or micro countries that are popping up. That like Liberland is one of them. Yeah, it's in between Serbia and Croatia. It's like
really,
yeah, it's like 10 square miles, and it's
an anarcho-capitalist country.
They're trying to get it off the ground. Yeah, they're trying to get the full rights to the land because it's unclaimed essentially, and so they're trying to get away with it. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and so there are.
It'd be interesting to see what would happen in a place like that. You know.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it turns out too. But the thing is that when you have everybody that's grown up with this, okay, so this is the best part. Okay, so everybody likes to bash religion. Fine, go ahead and bash religion. That doesn't bother me. I don't care. But why did they bash religion? Like, well, because, you know, like, I don't know, God's not real, or you know, you believe it's a religion. It's bullshit. A bunch of people just got together, wrote stuff on paper, and now you believe it. Okay, well, you just described government if you say that. A bunch of people got together, wrote a bunch of laws, and now you have to abide by them.
I mean, yeah, hopefully the idea, I guess, would be checks and balances, but...
Yeah, but I mean, you can polish it. You can polish shit however you want. It doesn't mean it's not shit, right? So the thing is that if you have a bunch of kids that grow up in a stateless society and they learn that this is, you know, right from wrong, like you don't hit, don't steal, don't defraud, don't rape, don't murder. If you do all those, if you break into somebody's house and they shoot you, that's on you. Mm-hmm. Like, too bad. Like, you broke into their house. They're justly acquired property.
Yeah. But my thought is with that is
but let me finish really quick. So you have these kids that grew up in the society, and now they're adults,
Mhm.
and some old guy's like, we should have a state. We should have a state where we can defend you for and, like. You think those kids would look at that guy like,
I don't think it's.
wait, you want us to like?
I don't think it's the old guy though. I don't think it's the old guy who does it. I think the person who does it is that yes, the way you would raise your kids that way would work, but there's going to be some fuck off in there who doesn't raise their kids that way, and then they're going to come up with those ideas, and that they're going to have a kid that's got youthful energy that's able to change people's
But now
opinions.
they have to convince everybody that they need a state. I'm not saying that they can't do that.
I think that once that seed is there, I think it's going to keep growing.
I think that once people have a grasp on liberty, there'd be a lot more resistance towards that kind of stuff. And here's the thing: is people.
I think this is what the goal should be of setting up a system like this. The goal of setting up a system like this is like, how do we keep the free market ticking along for the longest amount of time possible? Which is part of the reason that I think the founding fathers were so clever. You know, it's like, how do we put enough checks and balances in that we can keep this thing from going off the fucking rails? You know, and keep on going, because it's not going to go forever. Nothing's going to go forever.
Well, even Jefferson, even Jefferson warned us that our Constitution was subpar. I mean, he was in France when the Constitution was written, and you know, he's quoted with saying something to the effect of, "There's many good things about the Constitution and many more that are wrong."
Hmm.
And I agree with him. I think we have it's a great document. I'm glad we have it, but.
Well, it's generated the most wealthy society ever.
Yeah,
you know?
but now it's being severely stomped on and damaged, and
I'm a little worried. I honestly am. I think what's interesting to me is I think it's very common for the older generation to be worried, but I'm young and I'm a little worried about some certain things, you know, and I think that is something to be worried about. You know what I mean? I think there is. I'm a little bit worried about it. Nothing can last anyway, right? I mean, the universe is going to dissipate into fucking mist, and there's going to be heat death, and there's not going to be a heat gradient, and literally nothing will be able to change. So everything's got to die eventually, right? America's got to die. The question is, like, when is America going to die? You know, I really hope we get to Mars first. You know, that's the kind of thing. You know, I want something good to happen.
Well, I mean, we were talking about Rome earlier, and the reason why Rome fell was because they debased their currency.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah, okay, so the Romans used to use gold and silver as currency,
Okay.
and then the government started overspending, so they started you know, collecting taxes and stuff like that, and they started melting down the gold and silver and mixing it with other metals. So they debased it. They were taking.
It's 10:45. Do you need to leave?
I got some time.
Okay, just let me know.
So they melted down the metals, and they'd remake the coins with, you know, 50% gold and silver, mix it with copper and other metals and stuff like that. Well, that wasn't enough, so they started melting them down again, and they just kept producing more and more money,
More and more, less
pure metals. Yeah,
like sounds kind of like inflation a little bit.
well, it resulted
Buying
in inflation.
power, right?
It resulted in inflation because people are savvy to that. So they tried to do price controls. They tried to
Where did you hear about this, by the way? How do you know about this?
There's a great series that covers. I've read a couple books on it. Well, the best way to go if you want to know about the debasement of currency and how it actually destroys nations.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 10-part series on YouTube called "The Hidden Secrets of Money."
Was that one guy?
Mike Maloney.
So I told my mom about him, and she like went in. She's like, I think he's just trying to sell shit, because she went and looked on his website and he had all these like books for sale. These like
They're
little ebooks
free.
and stuff. Were they free? I don't know. This is what my mom said.
He gives his books away for free.
So this is what my mom said. The guy was kind of interesting when I listened to him, but one of the other things about him is it seemed like a little bit of fear mongering in there, which maybe is acceptable. I don't know. I didn't mean to derail you.
You can say people that will tell you what happened in history is fear mongering, but I mean,
maybe, yeah, I agree.
Every single fiat currency is failed. Every single fiat currency.
Fiat currency is like when the government owns the currency and it's just paper, right?
Yeah, it's just government.
Is that what it is? Is a government backed? That's what. Because fiat is like a government, right?
It essentially means that a piece of paper has value because a state says so.
Okay. So American currency is a fiat currency.
Yeah. We just printed
so anyway,
out.
sorry. Back to what you were saying about debasing the currency in Rome.
So I mean, but that's what we did. You know, we had the gold.
Well, we just got rid of it altogether. We were just like, fuck this. No more gold.
Yeah. So we had the gold standard, then we had like the Bretton Woods standard, and then since essentially since 1913, we've just been slowly eroding what values our dollar. So now Nixon took us off the gold standard entirely, and now we just have a fiat currency. So, and we're printing it into oblivion.
You think we're doing that right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, quantitative easing is
Quantitative
easing.
What is that?
So the Obama administration was doing to try to correct the 2008 crash, trying to stimulate the economy.
What does it mean? What is it?
They just printed a bunch of money, loaned it out.
That usually leads to inflation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the charts of like the amount of currency that's out there, the debt is really, really amazing. So I would just encourage you to watch that series. And you can watch the whole series. I mean, the whole series is probably 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And
I think I watched part of it.
Watch the whole thing and skip episode 7, I think it is, which is the crypto one.
That's the one I watched.
I wouldn't say not to. I just think that it has less historical relevance. If you want to understand it, really, episodes 9 and 10 it's total. They're like 45 minutes combined. Really awesome.
I think I might have watched it. I mean, one of them was he talked about the currency inflation in post World War I Germany.
Weimar Germany.
Yeah. What's it called? Weimar?
The Weimar Republic.
The Weimar Republic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is the thing when people like question my I don't know, for lack of a better term, political beliefs, which I don't really have any, because I believe
your political beliefs are let's not have politics.
I believe in the absence of politics because I don't believe that I should be able to force you to abide by my will, and I don't think you should have forced me to abide by yours.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is just not have a state.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, the series goes over everything from the Weimar Republic to how our debt system actually works, how debt is increased. So for it goes off of how bank lending will devalue the currency by itself because it creates more money just by the loan.
I've heard something about that. Yeah, where they can loan money that they don't have or something like that, right?
Yeah, so that's fractional reserve banking.
Yeah, that's
so
it. Yeah,
a fraction
that just scares me, man. When I hear about that shit, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean it's a scam. So, but the thing is that if the banks only have to have 10% of.
It seems like there's a lot of money moving around that's not actually there.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, which I mean.
So the thing is, because you can borrow, and I don't even want to try to articulate it. I'd rather just.
It's crazy shit. I mean, that's part of the problem. Is it's like crazy shit. Like you look at it, it's like, what the fuck's going on here? That's happening. I mean, and then it's all very convoluted because there's all these things happening at once.
People that if you can understand the money supply, sound money versus fiat money and all that kind of stuff. There's arguments
money?
about that. Sound money.
What is that?
Like gold and silver. Gold and silver, cryptocurrencies.
Meaning that it has value based on what it is.
Intrinsic value.
Yeah. Why would cryptocurrency have intrinsic value?
I don't necessarily think it does.
It seems like it's something. I mean,
but the thing is that it can't be.
It's rarity, I guess. But
yeah, it has set scarcity. So it can't. You like Bitcoin. There's only a certain amount of Bitcoins that can ever be produced.
Right.
So
But Bitcoin tanked, by the way, didn't it? It went way down.
Yeah, I haven't been watching it recently, but
a few months ago.
December 2017, it got up to almost $20,000 and it crashed.
Yeah,
and it's been on the decline almost all of 2018. It was on the decline. I don't know where it's at now. I haven't looked at it in probably 2 months, but so there's some arguments for cryptocurrencies because they can't be. You can only have a certain amount. And there's arguments for and against, and I'm neutral. If that's the way the markets want to go, and people are actually
it's probably better than fiat currency, right?
Absolutely, it is. And it's decentralized. Mm-hmm. It's controlled by private individuals. I think that's far better than a fiat currency. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a lot of faith in it. I also don't. I'm not skeptical of it. If that's the way the world's going to go, then I'm totally okay with that.
So why do you think that? Because you, for anyone listening who doesn't know, you trade silver. Do you trade gold? You just trade silver.
I don't really trade silver. I just buy it.
But you can buy it at your store, right? Aren't you a registered trade. I don't know what
it's
the
not,
word is.
There's no
But
registry for it or anything like that.
I
But
thought
yeah,
you
can,
had some kind of. I thought you had some kind of title or some kind of thing or something, some kind of designation or something. You were talking to Sensei about it in Grasshopper.
Yeah, I'm just a dealer, I guess.
A dealer,
I
I guess that's the
sell
word I'm
it.
looking for. Yeah.
Like it's.
Do you sell gold or just silver?
I can. Yeah, we can order gold.
You can order gold, but you don't have any in your shop right now.
Right. Yeah, we don't.
So
gold's expensive.
Yeah, I know. You showed me your. Well, we won't talk about that now. But you showed me you had like some silver, and you showed me you had some gold. And you're like, you told me how much they cost between. I'm like, oh, wow, this gold costs a lot more than silver. Which I'm like,
yeah, an ounce of silver is bigger than an ounce of gold because gold is denser.
Oh yeah,
so
gold is really dense. I don't think people understand that. Yeah,
yeah.
You know
so
that
an ounce of gold is $1,300, and an ounce of silver is about $16.
You know that movie Die Hard 3 where they go and they empty the Federal Reserve and there's like 13 dump trucks? Apparently it would take 130 dump trucks to actually empty the Federal Reserve because it's so fucking heavy. I watched that somewhere.
Out of gold?
Yeah.
I would first of all, it'd probably be Fort Knox, not the Federal Reserve.
It was Fort Knox. No. It's the Federal Reserve building in
DC.
In DC, which has more gold in it than Fort Knox.
I would bet you that both have probably zero gold in them.
I've seen it. I've actually been in it. I have actually seen it. There is actually gold there. I've seen it with my own eyes, unless it was fake gold. But I have walked into it in New York with my parents as a child, and I have looked through the gate at the gold, all stacked up. They let us do a tour.
At the Federal Reserve Bank of New York?
Yeah, you can go take a tour of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
it could be fake.
But
they had some interesting facts. Like apparently they actually sweep up and there's gold particles on the ground. There's like thousands of dollars, and they actually collect the gold dust from sweeping it up. And stuff
wouldn't surprise me. It's precious.
And apparently a lot of countries actually store their gold there too. It's not just American gold.
Yeah, and a lot of countries have been repatriating their gold too. But
what does that mean?
It means getting the gold back onto their soil
from America.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's no gold, but our gold reserves that should be there are probably depleted.
Why do you say that? I don't even know what that means exactly.
I mean, like,
you saying that the government? You think the government is saying they have gold they don't have?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you? What makes you say that?
Because they won't let anybody audit it.
They won't let anyone audit it.
Yeah.
Have people tried to audit it?
Well. There's been pushes to audit the Fed since 2008, 2007 when Ron Paul was running for president. When he was running on the
Federal Reserve.
Yeah, to audit the Fed, but not necessarily for gold.
Did you just say that everyone who tries to do that dies?
Anybody that tries to interfere with central banking very commonly dies.
So what you're saying is that is they haven't let anyone in to actually look at the gold, essentially, and count it to see what's there.
Yeah. And I don't. The audit the Fed isn't much about gold, but it's more just to see what the Federal Reserve is doing.
Is up to, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would make sense to me that they wouldn't let you do that if they were actually up to anything, right? One thing that you told me when we were young, which we haven't talked about yet, but you kind of seeded some of this stuff into me when I was younger. Because how old are you right now?
I'm 30.
You're 30. Yeah, you're getting up there.
Yeah.
I'm 25. So we met each other in martial arts. A long time ago. I was in high school, and you've kind of always been about this a little bit, and you've always questioned things, which is part of the reason that I like you, and like hanging out with you and stuff. What was I saying? There's something I was saying about. One of the things that you told me that I thought was really interesting. One of the first things that you told me that I kind of looked up, I'm like, well, that actually kind of that doesn't smell like bullshit. That actually seems kind of weird. Is the Bilderberg group and the Bilderberg meetings, and how for a while that shit was like, oh no, this doesn't.
It didn't exist.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't fucking do
and now
that.
they have a website.
Yeah, and then you told me that. I'm like, I went to the fucking Bilderberg website. I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking here.
They denied it. I mean,
Did you hear about them before that? Were you on to them before they had the website?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember when the website went up. But,
I don't know either.
But I mean, there's a guy, and I don't remember his name, but there's a guy that's been following them since the 70s.
Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, these guys are real.
Yeah, and trying to expose, and they deny.
I mean, if we're playing devil's advocate, they could just be in there talking about how they're gonna create green energy. But
they could, but you'd think that they'd let press in then if they did, but no, they don't. And it's all elite people, it's like the Queen of England and
Obama, and he was at one
political figures.
Of course, the Clintons were there, I'm sure.
And that's the thing is, like, it's really easy to look at like their common conspiracy theory and be like, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory. if you actually look into them, they're very easy to verify, at least that they exist.
They 100% exist. They have a fucking website.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is like
They have people go there and like figure out who went there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they actually do. They actually say
there's people out there now that there's people that follow these things religiously now, and they will go and they'll sit outside
where the meeting's going to happen,
and they'll just film the people show up, and so they can make a list of all the people that showed up.
Yeah, I think they actually may put it on the website. Do they?
No, but there have been leaks. There's been like people that are on the inside that have leaked some of the people that go there. But anyway, the Bilderberg group that didn't exist until it did.
This reminds me of a Bill Burr joke where he talks about how like before the meeting they sacrifice a Best Buy employee and then fight over his name tag.
This Bohemian Grove. That never existed until it did.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
So it's a camp that's kind of outside San Francisco, and it's where a bunch of like elite politicians and financial elite go to a couple times a year or something like that. It's like a camp, and they go and they have rituals and like the thing is like oh yeah.
This sounds like Alex Jones shit right here.
Well, this is why Alex Jones got famous
because he wrote this.
What's that?
He wrote this.
He snuck into it.
No shit.
And he filmed the ritual and he posted it online.
Is this what he was talking about with like aliens and shit, where they take acid and then like they think that like aliens were showing up?
No, this is like where they sacrifice like a human like dummy thing, and who knows, they might actually sacrifice real people. I don't know.
So he snuck into this. So who
he
goes
snuck
to
into
this?
it through the woods.
Heads of state go to this?
Yeah, Reagan went there. Nixon. There's pictures. There's pictures.
What's it called? Bohemian what?
Bohemian Grove. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's
and they go there and they have a fake sacrifice of a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
dummy or something like that.
Yeah, dude. Like here. It's yeah, no bullshit, dude. It's fucking wild, man.
It's all open. It's verifiable.
Yeah, it's not and it's.
You notice it? You said it's outside of San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
What do they do there other than sacrifice dummies?
So there's a lot of sexual activity that goes on there.
Well, that makes sense.
They
probably all sexually frustrated. Bunch of power-hungry people.
They import prostitutes
and shit. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So there's a thing about like the powerful elite and, well, I don't want to get into that because I don't want to.
And sex.
They're into men.
You think so?
I don't think so. That's what it is.
You think everyone who's powerful elite is into men?
So there's like an old Roman saying that's something that's like women are okay. Oh, God, it's so gross. Like boys are better, or men are better and boys are best, or something like that.
Weird. The Nazis did that. The Nazis were all into fucking boys.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's the thing is like, they're like, yeah, they do some weird stuff there, and I'm not a bigot. I don't care. I don't care if people are.
If you're into guys, yeah, but
the thing is that they do it more like as like a ritual kind of thing. I don't know, and I haven't been there. I don't know what actually goes on. But the thing is that we know that this stuff exists. And people very commonly just dismiss it, right? So.
Say it one more time. Bohemian what?
Bohemian Grove, like Bohemian Rhapsody, but Grove.
That seems like such an innocent thing to name. A bunch of super powerful.
Well, their emblem,
fucking boys.
Their emblem's an owl.
A boy being fucked by Hillary Clinton or something like that with a fucking strap-on dildo or something like that.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, there's like the whole thing with like Illuminati symbolism, and you know how they.
Do you believe in that? Do you believe the Illuminati are in the government and stuff?
The symbolism's there. I don't know why I wouldn't.
Because it's on the dollar, right? Isn't that like the pyramid with the eye, like an Illuminati symbol?
The all-seeing eye, yeah. At the top of the pyramid, yeah.
That's some really like deep. Conspiracy theory shit, you know?
Yeah, but it's right in front of you.
I don't even really know what the Illuminati is.
I would guess I would just say that it's a conglomerate
of a bunch of powerful people?
Of a bunch of powerful organizations. I wouldn't say just necessarily powerful people. I think there's a lot of groups that are involved in it.
So do you think it's mostly... Do you think the government is mostly controlled by really powerful companies. So essentially, companies and
No.
individuals that are kind of pulling the strings of the
I think
government,
more powerful families and powerful organizations.
right? That happen to have certain industries that they control.
Yeah.
So that,
And I
'cause
think
I've heard that about the two guys that are on top. The guy that I can't remember their name. I wish I could say their name, so if people are listening, they could look it up. But the Lawrence guy, he was talking about how there's these two brothers that are on the top. They pull all the, they had like the most funding for all of the people in political office or something like that. It kind of, yeah, he was talking about that. How, you know, they own this. They're this kind of crazy rich family, and then they own like the natural gas industry and the coal industry and all these industries, you know, like that. So you think that's what it is? You think it's a bunch of like kind of families, kind of
Yeah, I think it's mostly wealthy families.
old money kind of shit.
Yeah, and I think they keep it that way on purpose. But I also don't think that I don't think that they collaborate as much as everybody would like. As like a lot of conspiracy
You
theories.
think they're kind of competing with each other a little
Yeah,
bit?
I think it's
that would make more sense.
I think it would be like a poker night
right.
where
Right, with the gambling. Yeah,
you have a bunch
yeah.
of you have a bunch of dudes that can come over and hang out, but you still want their money. You're still playing against them.
Right.
You still throw them under the bus.
Right,
You
it's a
can
little bit of competition.
play your cards.
Yeah.
And I think that even though the pact is that it's like Fight Club. It's like first rule about Fight Clubs, you don't talk about Fight Clubs.
Right.
Second rule about Fight Clubs, you don't talk about Fight Club.
Right. That would make.
But
more
we're still going to
sense.
beat the shit out
That
of
would
each other.
that would actually make more sense because I that's part of the problem that I have with conspiracy theories in general is I don't think people are capable of being like this perfectly spun web that has 1,000 people involved that
Right.
reaches out and everyone lies perfectly. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible for humans to do that. That what you said though makes more sense to me. It's
Yeah.
like they're actually competing. Maybe it's kind of like, ha, 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 I beat you this time. Maybe you'll beat me next time. Kind of. Maybe it's that kind of competition.
Well,
but-
why would they care so much about elections then?
I don't know.
They really care to get elected. They really want to be elected.
Wait.
However,
Wait, you're saying the people running or the families care about who's going to be elected?
both. They're all trying to compete for that power, like the
Mhm.
official power.
Mm-hmm.
So when John Kerry ran against George Bush, they were both in Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones? What is that?
The Skull and Bones Society. It's almost like a fraternity at Yale, but
Check
it's
that out.
it is
100%
a
like
very dark organization, and they've been involved in a lot of things.
that. Huh.
Almost
Out of Yale.
I think it's every single
Was George Bush was a senior? Was he in it as well?
both, yeah.
That makes sense.
And because you have to be brought into it like through family
Really?
or like
That's so
a
dirty.
sponsor or something. Yeah.
It's so dirty.
So here's the thing: I think it's every single director of the CIA has been a Skull and Bones member.
Oh my god.
Stop
talking.
So many so many presidents. I mean, it's not. It's like easily verifiable. It's not like, oh well, you can't prove that. It's like it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's got the fucking blood oath. It's right there written.
Yeah, so it's not like they. So I believe that John Kerry and George Bush were actually competing for the presidency. I do think that they were both selected. I think that was
Right.
probably, but I think they were both competing for the presidency.
Yeah.
And they were just.
It makes more sense.
Yeah, but
It makes more sense if there's actually.
But they were playing a
competition going on.
gentleman's game. They're like, all right, like,
Right.
let's see if I can beat you. Like,
Right.
You're like, hey,
Right.
let's see who can let's see who can convince the masses.
It gives me fucking chills, man. Ah,
Dude,
think all
it's-
that shit.
It
Yeah.
is a.
Because it's very believable because anytime there's power in one spot, it's like it becomes like it's
Well, how
you got to get the power. You know,
well,
it's like,
how come they won't let the Libertarian
Compete?
Party ever?
yeah,
ever
like
have the-
where they actually sit down and like
The
what's
debates.
the debates? Yeah, they won't actually let them into debates. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they'd probably win. You know, it's like they
Right,
don't-
well, I mean, except for Gary Johnson, he's a
well, yeah, he was kind of an idiot.
yeah.
I mean, he just wasn't that smart.
He's just kooky, yeah.
Yeah, he just
But I mean,
he was a libertarian guy, right?
he was the Libertarian
candidate.
candidate.
Yeah, he was the wrong guy for it, man.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible with the internet and like shit like this? I mean, I'm really small, but do you think with like what Joe Rogan's doing, and do you think like with other people out there, do you think it's possible for someone to come up and uproot this? It's got to be possible, right? Did they kill him? Did they let him get in? Do you think it would happen? I don't know.
What do you mean?
Do you think it's possible for someone to come up from like a libertarian or any other party other than the Democrats or the Republicans to come in and actually beat him who's not part of that shit?
I honestly, I'm not super pro Trump or anything because I'm not.
But he's
pro-
probably not. He's probably not in those things, is he?
That's the suspicion, is that he actually is opposition to these people, and that's why the
That's-
media does not leave him alone. Because if you want to look at the owners of all the media, like left or right, it doesn't matter. It like
Is
like-
Fox News going after him?
no, they play more on the right. And I
'Cause
think
they
that's 'cause they have
support
to
him.
play the game. Well,
Yeah.
they support him more, I would say.
Yeah.
But there are, I mean, and I'm not totally convinced because there's been plenty of pictures where, that Trump has been taking pictures next to Bill and Hillary. So I don't have full faith that he's not like colluding.
Well, my thought is that he was probably a businessman playing the game.
Sure, and that could be it. I don't know, but the thing is that with
If he colluded with anyone, it's probably with the Russians. It probably wasn't with anyone here. But I don't think he did that either.
well, there's no evidence that.
No, I don't.
I don't care. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not like. I don't even care to like defend the guy because.
I wasn't
I'm not
super
pro-Trump,
happy.
but-
Yeah, I was to the extent that I didn't like Hillary. I like actually. There is parts of Trump that I liked. I actually really liked that he was like a fuck you. Like he was.
Yeah.
Because you know my history. I got kicked out of school from a crazy bitch in a Title IX investigation, and that entire thing just grew somehow inside of the college culture. There was this like cancer that was there, and he was an ultimate like fuck you to that shit, and that's why I liked him. That's like the main reason I voted for him. Is
Yeah.
because he was like, oh, I can't wait for the people, these cunts, to fucking like. There's this shot I remember watching when he got elected, and my dad had on CNN, and I watched it. It was all these liberals in New York. I shouldn't say liberals. A bunch of leftists in New York. And they were exactly what I imagined, like these like young people that didn't think. And I don't like to hate on people because I thought these things too. Like that's actually why I don't actually. Okay, part of me. Okay, so there's this like kind of this joyous like kind of like evil like dirty part of me that was like what they did is they showed him getting elected and they showed like a picture of all these like leftist younger people and they were all crying. I was like yes, and that was like the dirty side of me. The other side of me is like. I actually don't hate those people because I understand how easy it is to get knocked off, like to get confused, like to have someone say some shit and you just believe it because someone's telling it to you.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean it's tribalism. It's political tribalism. It's it's too much for me to wrap my head around
it's
right
okay.
now.
So what it is when you let me tell you my experience with it. It's because I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not bragging, but I'm not a stupid guy, and I actually question things. I question things a lot now, but even then I was doing a little bit. But I was always told in high school, and this is part of the reason I went to school is because I was told like this is where I need to go to be successful. So I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be successful. And then I worked really hard to get in there because I had shit grades. So I worked really hard to get in there because I was told that they're what I needed to like succeed and be successful and like have a good life and all these things. So when I went there, I had no reason to assume that there was something inside there that was full of shit. And I was young and I didn't have as much knowledge that I'm operating with now or as much life experience and all those things. So I went there and there's these people telling me like, oh yeah, 1 in 2 women are raped in college. I think that's what it's up to now. At one point it was 1 in 5, and then it was 1 in 4, and it was 1 in 3, and I think now it's 1 in 2. I'm like, oh shit, that's awful. That everyone's sexist and everyone's racist and all this shit. It's like you have these internal biases. I had no reason to question, and just because I hadn't had a lot of experience questioning things, and then also these are people that I trusted and that I assumed knew what the fuck they were talking about. So people are telling me this, I'm like, oh, it's got to be true. And I didn't really even think much more. I mean, all my peers believe it, and then all my teachers believe it. And I'm writing essays about it. I literally wrote essays about how people are being, and like, it's interesting because I probably would have gone on in that point, and then I probably would have gotten a normal job, and I would kind of knew it was bullshit, and kind of just ignored it. But then that thing happened that forced me to like reconfigure my life and actually analyze it.
It directly affected you.
100%, yeah. Because I was a feminist, and I was a liberal or a leftist or whatever. I had all the things checked, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm under investigation. Wait, what? What the fuck are you talking about? What did you say? Do you know who I am? I am 100% on board with this shit, and you're investigating me? It's just like, it's just like, and then I had to, and then that's like put me on this thing where I'm like, I don't even know where I was going with this, but so okay, yeah, so when I see someone think those things, I don't like hate them as a person. I understand, like I commiserate with them in the sense that it's like you are a product of where you've been and what you've been taught. It's not necessarily that you're a bad person. You've just been told all this shit, and like you haven't had an actual academic conversation, and you've had an academic conversation, but not an academic conversation, and you haven't had a true dive into what's true or not. If you've never been taught that, and everyone you've known and you've listened to, because you rebel against your parents, you don't listen to what the fuck they say anyway. You go to college, oh yeah, we gotta rebel. All this shit's bad. Your parents may be, more sane, but you're not listening to them because you're fucking 20 and you're trying to get laid and you don't give a fuck shit what your parents say. So you're hearing all this shit and it feels good. It feels powerful because you're like, yeah, fuck the system, rage against the machine. And so I actually almost feel bad when I see like young people falling for that shit. It's like
I pity them.
Yeah, it's pity. That's kind of what I feel.
I pity the fact that they've been so misled.
Mm-hmm.
And the indoctrination is so deep because the academia is so monopolized now by leftism.
Yeah. Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
I hope I haven't been on a college campus since Trump's been elected, so I hope it's getting a little better because that's the main reason. I really want him to shake that shit up, and I think he got rid of Title IX too, or he at least changed it. I think it's still there, but I think he changed it a little bit because Title IX actually has a bunch of shit in it.
I don't know anything about it, but I do think that he has shaken the college campus.
I hope so.
I think YouTube has too, and I don't mean YouTube as an organization. I mean YouTubers.
But people, yeah.
I mean,
and I think YouTube, as far as the giants go with social media, I think they're the best. I don't think they're perfect. I think they're still they're what's the word?
Best of the bad situation.
Yeah. What's the word where you don't let people say what they want to say?
Silencing? Filtering or
filtering? Yeah, that's not the word I'm looking for. Where they like
censoring?
Censoring. Thank you. They're like, I think a lot of other media sources are worse about it. I think Facebook's really bad about it. I think from this I've never been blocked on a social media site, but what I've heard other people talk about, I think YouTube's probably the best when it comes to those things. But I still don't think I think you should.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like YouTube is a bunch of it's like a leftist organization,
mm-hmm.
but.
Well, it's Google.
But
YouTube is Google.
Right. But people on the right dominate information. Like, they dominate third-party information. And so, like there are... If you look at, like, leftist channels, like, there's that... I don't know, Riley Dennis or whatever, some trans lady's name.
I've never heard of that.
Or dude or whatever.
Oh, is this a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Like, if you look at, like, all the leftist channels, like, go look at their like-to-dislike ratios, and they have, like... It's like 33% likes, 66%
really?
dislikes.
That's never true on YouTube. That is almost never true on any video I've ever seen on YouTube.
And then you go on to like anybody that's right leaning, and it's 100% the opposite.
So you're saying what I said is true because their user base is
if they actually censored everybody that they disagreed with, they would
lose all
put
their
themselves
users
out of business.
Yeah, that's
because
interesting.
That
is a great example
dominates.
of the truth, like dominating, right?
Yeah. Right, and that's exactly it. So
that's what it should be.
I mean, look at like all the black YouTubers now that are coming up that are like the right leaning or right wing or I don't know whatever you want to call them, but I just found it. I'm
right
finding,
of center.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, you could conservative. We'll say conservative media.
Sure.
I've been blown away at how successful some of them have been, and it's because they break the mold. So there's like Tommy Sotomayor, Candace Owens. The Black Mike. MIC like a microphone. I just discovered him like 2 days ago.
That's the only person I don't know who it is, but I actually think I've heard that name. The other people I haven't heard of.
And the thing is that like they're unstoppable because they break that mold. So people are like, oh, like Trump is racist and no black people black people support.
Did you hear that thing Kanye? I didn't know about this until Joe Rogan talked about it, but Kanye West went and talked to President Trump. I thought that was crazy. He talked to Kanye on the phone. Apparently, that dude's just kind of fucking crazy. He just spills. Yeah,
well, and he like denounced Trump or something. I don't know, whatever. But,
well, I think that guy's all over the place. But
yeah,
I think he's
kind of nutty.
I think he's a creative genius. I think he's just like a manic, crazy genius. That's kind of what Joe Rogan explained. He's just blooming with shit, and he's just thinking crazy
about stuff all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. But so the breaking the mold has just become undeniable, and they can't get rid of all that. Like,
Well, they would.
They-
If what you said is true, if those are the people that are dominating on YouTube channels, which I think is part of the reason I'm drawn to YouTube, is that I like that shit. I really do. I really like, and I listen to people on the left. I listen to John Oliver. I actually really like John Oliver. He's one of the few people on the left I listen to. I don't agree with his politics, but I really like what he reports on. I stopped listening. I couldn't listen to him during the election. I was just like, I can't do it. But most of the shit he mostly throws his little political commentary in there every now and again. Mostly he's just researching shit and talking about it. I like that shit. There's way more people on the right doing that, and there's a couple people on the left doing it, like John Oliver. It's like one of the few people. And I guess if you, he's actually pretty good. If you go in there and you listen to him, and you're like, hey, I'm not gonna listen to his. I'm just hit it. Like take anything like liberal he says or leftist he says on the chin. Be like, whatever. That's who he is. Just take it on the chin, and then just listen to what he has to say, like what he's explaining. He goes in and he researches issues really, really well. That's what I like him. I like that kind of shit. Or I like people, even if it's not an issue, it's like it's talking about like an idea, or it's talking. One of my favorite YouTube channels is It's called Kurzgesagt. I'm probably fucking that name. It's a German company, and they do these little cartoons, and they go in and they talk about. They're really well researched, and they go and they talk to people who work in the field, and they are really dedicated to doing things that are really true, and then they make a cartoon out of it. And they have all these like little birds. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on every podcast I've done, which is only 3. But they have these little birds in their cartoon videos, and they explain an idea really well. And that's the kind of shit I like. I think humans have a drive to get stimulated, and I think we want truth and and understanding and
I think people
ideas.
want confirmation.
You think people want confirmation?
I don't think they want truth. I think
You don't think so?
I think it's confirmation bias. So
really, you think so?
yeah. So for instance,
Yeah.
I don't remember the source, but there was some study that came out and it said that conservatives consume like 70% conservative media and like 30% liberal media,
I would believe that. Yeah.
and liberals consume like 95% liberal media, maybe 5% conservative.
That's probably just because there's way more leftist media than.
and they don't
Right,
care
yeah.
to hear the other side. That's like you.
That is the real truth. Like if you've ever talked to someone who is they
don't
don't even have a clue.
They don't want
of
to
what the
hear.
other side
They
is
don't
saying.
because they don't want to talk statistics. They don't want to
No,
talk reality. They
no. There's
So-
one guy that I can say who's not like that, but anyway, go ahead.
So perfect example is gun control, right? So they will say, the leftist media will say like big scary black guns. Do you know
Big scary black guns. Is that what you said?
big scary black guns? Yeah,
Because guns are black.
yeah,
Okay.
like AR-15s are
black.
typically black, right?
Okay. So if you get a pink one, it's okay.
I guess. but the
Baby
thing,
blue?
okay, so this is a common.
I want a pastel gun.
Yeah. God, don't do that. The common argument is like, did you know that 33,000 people die a year from guns?
Well,
that's a scary number.
not compared with heart disease.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's not, and not compared to automotive accidents, it's almost the exact same.
Is that high? I thought guns would be lower than that. I thought automotive accidents would be higher than guns.
But let's talk about what constitutes a death by gun.
Okay.
Does that mean murder? Does that mean homicide?
What is it? People shooting themselves or some shit like that? 2/3
of gun deaths are
100%.
suicide.
100%. Oh, suicide. Oh.
2/3 are
Suicide. I was thinking people like shoot themselves clean, but people.
So the thing is, that means
that makes sense.
There's 11,000 people that are killed by guns through homicide.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of puts a dent in a lot of what the left says, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you 33,000 people die.
And a lot of that's probably gang violence, people fighting each other and for that kind of shit, which is.
Well, we can filter it down, right?
Yeah.
So the 33,000 is homicide. Well, what's the definition of homicide? A human killing another human.
Yeah.
Well, does that include justified shootings? Defensive shootings?
Would it? I don't know.
Yes.
It does.
The
I guess you know the
statistic
statistics.
does.
So.
It includes like
So people in self-defense, acting in self-defense, defending themselves.
people shooting in self-defense.
Is that considered a homicide though? Because I thought
Yes,
a
it
homicide
is.
was like a murder.
No. Murder
Is murder.
is homicide.
But homicide is
isn't
not
murder.
So it's not okay.
Yeah, homicide is a human killing a human.
Okay, that makes That makes sense.
Right.
So what if you run someone over? Is that a homicide?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you kill another person, it's homicide, whether it's justified or not.
So if you accidentally ran over a pedestrian,
It's still a
it's a homicide.
Yeah,
It's a homicide
Well, I guess I
investigation.
wouldn't know how they would decipher that, but vehicular homicide, I guess.
Yeah.
So that 11,000 point figure includes justified shootings. So you're gonna have to knock that down a little bit more, right? So that leaves. So we'll be generous to them, and we'll say 11,000 murders per year.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's a lot. Well, how many times a year is a gun used in a defensive manner? The Center for Disease Control estimates somewhere from 500,000 to 1 million instances a year where a gun is used defensively.
Wouldn't that make the homicide rate be a lot higher? That doesn't seem
Because if you shoot someone, doesn't mean you kill them.
Or I guess if you pull a gun out.
Or you pull a gun out, you don't even have to shoot.
Fire a shot or something like that.
You just have the gun on you, you pull it out.
That seems like a huge divergent,
gap.
though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like a huge gap.
Yeah, that's the studies from the Center for.
So where are they getting that number then?
I don't know. You have to go look at that study. But the thing is that
that's a gun. That's a gun being used offensively.
If somebody broke into my house,
that's a gun being used offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If somebody broke into my house and I pulled out a gun,
and you didn't,
and they left,
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I wouldn't call the cops.
No.
If I pull it out and they're like, and I'm like, get the fuck out of my house, and they're like, okay, I'm leaving, and they left.
I feel like most people would.
Maybe.
I feel like I would. I would call just to be like, hey,
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't. I think that's why the study is estimations, because it's the same argument that people say, like, our rape culture, there's way more rapes than that go reported. Well, it's the same reason. It's like people don't know what to do. Like, well, nothing really happened. They just.
You think that's true? Do you think a lot of rapes go unreported?
I don't know. I don't really think anything about it. But that's the argument. I'm using the same argument.
They use that argument, but I don't think that's a great argument. Well, I don't know, actually. I don't, because I've actually talked to people that have been raped, and I had to ask them. I was like, wait a minute, have you actually been raped, or have you been the rapes? In which, if someone took a sign out of this, look at that, the thing's about to die too. God, I'm all kind of dropping the ball.
That's right. I mean, we probably should start wrapping up anyway.
Yeah, we can wrap up.
We can finish the statistic statement, and then so I'm not directly comparing it to rape. I'm just saying that, I mean, we're using the same studies, right? Or the same type of study, like
some kind of argument
estimated
for how this yeah.
I can see this. It makes perfect sense to me that and the thing is too, like, even if guns are used defensively, it doesn't mean the person dies. The thing is,
that just seems like a really big gap.
Yeah, but the thing is,
not
everybody assaulted with a bullet, not everybody assaulted with a gun dies either.
We were talking earlier before people could hear us about how poorly trained people are with firearms. Maybe they were missing.
Yeah, it could be. You never know. So anyway, so they use these big scary numbers, and then when you actually want to dive into them, you actually decipher, like, oh, so there's only like 11,000 homicides, we'll say murders, a year with guns. It's not that much. It's actually a really low figure for the size of our population.
Yeah, that's not very many.
Yeah,
for how, because that was like there's like 3
uncommon.
million people in America or something like that. Or
no, there's 300.
300 million. Yeah, 300.
360 or something like that.
So 11,000 is not that many.
No, it's not.
It's not many at all.
And I'm not justifying. I'm not saying, like, don't worry about those people. It's a number that I'd like to see that number go down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to die, but if that's the number of homicide, because I think part of the argument is missing is like, is that, you know, the reason you have guns is, I think people miss like part of the reason, because it's like, even if the statistic was way more than that, if people were killing each other at their homicides were a lot higher, murders were a lot higher, there would still be an argument for having guns, which is like, I think the main one that the people.
Well, you could argue there's a lot more gun crime. People should be able to defend themselves.
Yeah.
It's actually
it's defense. It's defense, and then it's also the other one. I think that's actually not talked about that all that much, which I think is unfortunate. It's not talked about that much. Is like literally the reason it's in there is in case the government gets too big and we got to rebel, right? I mean, that's like something that I think. I mean, maybe it's not a very good argument to change people's mind because it seems like something so kind of unattached because we think things are going to be always like they are. But I think that's a good point. I think it could actually be an olive branch to people on the left right now. Is like, hey, look how shitty Trump is. Don't you want a gun so you can defend yourself in case he tries to come kill you or something?
Right. Well,
like
and
that,
that's the whole Nazi argument that a lot of YouTubers have made is like,
if he's really
if he's literally Hitler, would you really want him to take
your
the guns?
Yeah, exactly. Don't you want to be able to fucking overthrow Hitler? You know, I mean, that's a great thing.
So the final part on the statistic thing is that there's 11,000 homicides, right? And the left wants to ban these big black scary guns that shoot. What did that guy say? This is a ghost gun, 30 rounds in half a second, and all this nonsense that he lied about. Whatever, 30 caliber bullet magazine clip or whatever the fuck he said. It was something ridiculous. That doesn't exist.
30 rounds in half a second sounds pretty fast.
It's a lie.
Like
he was talking out his ass. I can't. The cops that were behind him in the video, I'm just surprised they weren't laughing.
Well, they don't know a whole lot about guns, as we talked about earlier.
Well, it's not that they don't know a lot about them. They might not be proficient.
Well, they may be not trained in them,
but
some cops, not all cops. We're not saying all cops here.
Yeah, I'm not making a judgment, but what's the percentage of those rifles, those big black scary rifles used in
that are actually used to kill people? I think a very small percentage. Yeah. I think a very small percentage.
We want to ban these guns that are used in less than 1% of gun crime.
Yeah,
less than 1% of gun crime.
I think a lot because the world is getting better by almost every measure. So you should still have a right to defend yourself. I think the problem is a lot, especially with like a lot of the mass shootings and stuff, is that so everything's getting most violent things, bad things are decreasing, like rates of war. Rates of like probably rape. I know definitely rates of murder.
And they've been on the decline
for a while. Yeah, for a long time. The things
since the early 90s.
The things that are increasing are like rates of suicide and rates of depression. There's something which I've talked about again on the other podcast too, and just something that part of the reason I actually started this podcast is because I want to talk about this a little bit. But it's that there's this thing called the epidemic of loneliness, and it's that people just don't feel as connected. You used to ask people.
It's a social media thing.
Yes, that's a huge part of it. And then there's other things too. Like people are more likely to move for a job now than they were a while ago. And it's like if you ask people like I think it was. I should probably look. I keep saying on my podcast, so I should probably look up the actual statistics. But it's either somewhere between the 40s and the 60s. They used to ask people like, how many close friends do you have that you could call on in like an emergency to come help you out? And the average answer was like 5. In a day, it's 0. You know. So I think a lot of it is that you have people that are depressed or sad or whatever, and people are hurting and they want to go out with a bang, and so they go shoot up a school. That's not a gun's fault. In fact, if anything, my dad's a teacher. There's a kid in my dad's at my dad's school that he was being a dick essentially. My dad doesn't take bullshit, and so he said something to him. And that kid's kicked out of school. I can show you the picture. He's like wearing blue because he's a crib and like throwing up a gang sign with an AR. And he's like talked about. I think I just did West Side. I didn't mean to do that, but he's throwing up some kind of gang sign and. He has a gun. He's like talked about shooting up school and shit like that. Literally talked about this shit. And my dad is able to carry his firearm in his truck, and he parks as close to the door as possible, but he can't take it in. And the principal is a crazy leftist bitch who is like my dad just kind of like just hates it. He hates all of it because he's like this is such bullshit.
Careful what you put out in this case.
Well, yeah, but. I don't have enough followers. I think to make too much flash. He's leaving in 2 months. So, but it's interesting because, I mean, my dad should have a right to be able to like have a gun on him and be able to with that happening. So what I was saying is that it's not guns' fault. In fact, if anything, being able to carry some guns might actually make the school safer. Is that the problem is that we have a mental health problem. Is that there's shit going on with...
I still think that's wrong.
Why do you think it's wrong?
Well, I think that there's some mental health issues that have to do with school shootings, but the two most significant conclusions that I've heard from studies in school shootings is psychotropic drugs, so medication for ADD, ADHD, and other mental things. Sure, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend like I know. But so it's psychotropic drugs and single motherhood. Almost every single school shooter has a single mother without a father in the home.
I would say that those are things, and chicken or egg, right? Are those things because
Correlation and causation are questionable.
what I'm saying is are we seeing more single mothers and more people on ADHD drugs because we have an epidemic of loneliness, or is there an epidemic of loneliness because there's more single mothers and more people on those drugs?
Well, this is a common trend even before social media. So you could.
Well, I don't know if social media is the only problem with it. I think
social media is a huge part of loneliness.
The loneliness and those depression.
But I don't.
And stuff
But I
like
don't know.
I think that's pretty agreed upon from people who study this. I don't know either, but I think that's a pretty common thing to say. I don't know either, but I was on Adderall for like a year in ship school, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not saying all. It's not. It's not saying that if you do this.
Do you think just
because you do meth doesn't mean you're going to rob a liquor store?
Do you think that it's just more likely that people that are depressed are more likely to have like single moms and be on Adderall because they're depressed and crazy?
It's more the question would be like, does single motherhood
cause
perpetuate the need for psychotropic drugs,
or and then all those behaviors that follow, like shooting up school and all that shit too?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I tend to think that society, unfortunately, is pushing towards that direction, and I think we might see more of this. And I think the thing that maybe caused the mother to be single in the first place is because there's a lack of connection. There's a lack of like good social structure and stuff like that.
I think the single motherhood debate is huge, and there's a lot that goes into it. I'm not going to pretend that I know too much about it, but I can send you debates on it.
I've heard Stefan Molyneux talk about it. I think I've heard who were we talking about earlier? Jewish guy, Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he's talked about it. I think there's good arguments for it. My question is,
I would say if you really want to know a lot about it, look into the anti-feminist people, like the women that are anti-feminists,
mm-hmm.
and hear what they have to talk about masculinity, and I think that'll give you a lot of insight. So like Candace Owens, she's really not a good debater, but she has some good content. And there's actually a good number of female YouTubers that are like anti-feminists that have really good positions on that can explain that kind of phenomenon
motherhood
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean the main thing is it comes down to a welfare state. Is you give women
that's a problem. That's 100% a problem. Yeah.
You give women away out of men.
My sister
men are obsolete.
My sister is working with someone right now who's like it's really weird. It's really weird. It disturbed me when she told me about it. She's a dental hygienist. She's in dental hygienist school right now, and she's got 2 kids on welfare, and she takes welfare from for having the 2 kids, and it pays for all of her shit. Like my sister's telling me this girl is going shopping, is paying for her school.
I knew 2 girls that went on food stamps to buy crotch rockets. I'm not even kidding. Like I used to work with them years ago.
What?
Yeah. So when I worked,
I thought you could buy food with food stamps. You can buy crotch rockets with food stamps.
Well,
why am I not on food stamps?
They saved money. They got on food stamps, so they could spend less money on food. They could afford a motorcycle. And the restaurant I was working at the time, the manager, when he found out, he was like livid. Like he wanted to fire them because.
So you think that it's the fact that the government is incentivizing the wrong thing, which is causing this problem to happen, perpetuate single motherhood. You think that's part of the problem? You think the problem is essentially becoming because the government is
there's an alternative. Like so back in the day when we had like nuclear families, fathers in the household. Well, if the woman divorced the man, there's nothing that would finance her, right? So once we started these social programs that would give you money and would require like child support payments and stuff like that. Well, now women can leave men,
right?
And they can
which breaks up the family,
and they can get all the financial support they need from the state
which we know has a really negative effect on children,
right?
When they're raised by a single parent in general, but especially without a father,
right?
Well, I think being on the mothers.
Violence is very closely correlated with
Right.
single
Yeah.
motherhood,
Yeah.
and it's for numerous reasons. But
I think a lot of things we talked about, like where you don't even develop that dangerous side of you, so you don't know how to control it, so it bubbles up in some weird, disturbing way.
and yeah, you just like kids need a parent of both sex.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is. I'm not disparaging. I don't know, gay couples or anything that they have kids. I don't know what the statistics are. I don't care. I don't my that's the thing is people let their opinions guide the way they think,
Mm-hmm.
and so many things aren't warranting an opinion at all. So people like, well, what's your political opinion? Well, what's your opinion on guns? Well, your opinion doesn't fucking matter on guns.
Facts.
There are studies that show you that one thing will result in one thing, and one thing will result in another thing, right?
So what do I flip that argument on you though? And I talk about like Australia that's gotten rid of all the guns and the rate of violent gun crime has gone down.
Their gun crime has gone down. Their violent crime rate has not.
It hasn't. They're still murdering each other.
The fact that people decipher between the tool used for the violent crime and the violent crime itself is astounding.
So you're saying that the fact that like even though Australia doesn't have guns, they're still stabbing each other to death.
Well, I'm going to tell you that,
or whatever.
Well,
The
crime, the violent crime rate is dropping at the same rate it was before guns were banned. Same. Look at London. London is one of them has a higher murder rate than New York does, and they're like, well, they don't, it's knife crime now. It's not guns, but now they're talking about knife control.
So yeah, they talking about that today. You can't buy a kitchen knife or something there. They're talking about
they're dulling the knives and stuff like that. But,
how you gonna fucking cut a tomato?
Dude, it's asinine. It's truly asinine. So the thing is, like, if we should be talking about violence by itself and not the tool used.
Right, 100%. I 100%.
And the moment you eliminate guns,
this is an argument I've used since high school. Is that listen? If I wanted to kill you, I'll run you over with my goddamn car.
Right.
I can fucking do it.
Sensei posted a funny.
Remember that? Remember in Nice or something like that in France, like
87 people
ran him over with a bus. Yeah, and Sensei because he's funny. He posted something on Facebook. He's like, regulate the tactical van or something like that.
Ban assault.
Ban assault vans. Yeah,
ban assault trucks.
Yeah.
So the thing is that violent crime rates are not affected by legislation. Now,
kind of like drug use.
Like, it's true that gun crime goes down when you eliminate guns in a certain geographic area.
Yeah.
That's fairly true. They don't disappear.
Right.
But they go down.
Right. Because they're hard.
But the violent crime rate is virtually untouched.
I 100% believe that.
And knife wounds are worse than handgun.
I 100% believe that. Yeah. Because of course, what are you going to go to after a gun? I mean, I would go to a katana, but most people would go for a knife. You know. So
I mean, and stab wounds are worse than handgun wounds.
Are worse? Like worse for you?
Detrimental. Yeah.
Why do you say that? Because they're
knife wounds.
They just tear you up more.
Yeah.
Why? I think a gun because it would go right through you.
Yeah, but you gotta hit vital points.
So you're saying it's easier to walk up and stab someone in the heart than it is to shoot someone in the heart? Or you're more likely to
I'm saying that, like, if you get stabbed, if I could choose to be shot or stabbed, so if you pick any part of my body, the answer is going to be I'd rather get shot.
Really?
Except for, like, the ocular cavity.
Yeah, your head or your heart.
Because it's a little bit harder. Or the breastplate, because a knife is hard to go through your breastplate. But if you talk about, like, your legs,
so you're saying
your
the
arms,
size of the wound is bigger with a knife?
Yeah, it does more critical damage.
I could see that because I guess a bullet just usually puts like one little tiny hole right through you, right? I mean, it kind of pushes everything.
Yeah, depending on what type of ammunition is used.
I guess if you're using a hollow point or something, that would rip open into you and kind of tear you up.
and I'm not saying that guns aren't lethal. I'm just saying that knife wounds are
on average more lethal.
Yeah, very commonly so. And that might have changed recently with modern ballistics, but most people that are committing crimes are doing it with full metal jacket.
Yeah, they're buying just normal old
they're
rounds.
not using like high quality ammo. They're using cheap shit, and it's less effective. So, yeah, I mean,
if Dustin was here, he'd be talking about how you can't even use them in the military. You can't use hollow points. In the
yeah,
military.
it's against the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a serrated knife.
Yeah, I don't. Regulating warfare is kind of an interesting thing.
It's an interesting idea to say, hey, listen, we're going to
Yeah.
kill each other, but you can only kill each other
Yeah,
in this way. It's kind of
you
like
think
it's
that
like
you think it would be
sport
like
martial
the Geneva Convention would be like, yeah, you can't have war. I don't know, whatever.
That'd make a lot more sense, you know.
Yeah, but so if violent crime rates were affected by gun control, it'd be hard to be pro-gun. But because they're
Yeah.
not affected by, I mean, the same day Sandy Hook happened, 33 people were stabbed to death in China by one guy or two guys or something like that. It was
I think
a
since
mass
I talked about
stabbing.
this too, yeah. I think some guy just went in there and started stabbing motherfuckers, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
some guy or maybe there's a different time. So I think some guy went in with a knife, and some guy went in and did like a perfect fucking shoulder throw and like dropped some dude.
yeah,
but-
but and people always talk about like, well, guns are easier to kill a bunch of people. Well, that might be true.
Maybe,
in
maybe,
fact,
maybe in like,
in fact,
maybe in like, in that one, what was that, the Las Vegas shooting where the guy shot out of the window into
yeah,
a
you
crowd.
can't throw knives that far. Sure, I
Yeah.
get that, but in mass shootings are incredibly rare. You know, we hear so much about them because of the news, but like the
Right.
actual rate.
Right. I think that's.
and
I think
which
that's.
you're- the
important. I think that's
likelihood
something
of-
people miss is that well, they are rising. That is true.
No, they're not. Mass
No,
shootings
no.
are on the decline.
I think no.
They're being publicized more.
Mass shootings in like the term of like because that includes gang shootings, but like actual mass shootings where there's like someone crazy going in and shooting into a crowd of people, that is on the rise.
I would like to see the source. I'd like to get my source for the.
Okay, let's look into that because I've heard that it's those in particular are actually right mass shootings because when they consider like more than like 3 or 4 people shot, they consider it mass shooting, but a lot of that is gang violence. That with the gang violence is decreasing, but I this is what I've heard is that the rate of actual like what you think of when you think of a mass shooting where someone goes and shoots up a school or a public square.
From the last statistics that I had seen, that school shootings are on the decline.
See, I thought they were so okay. So let's look into that because I want to know because that's
Sure.
that'd
I
be a
mean,
good
we
to know.
might as well get the facts straight. I agree.
Yeah, let's
We can speculate all we want, but
Yeah.
again, it comes down to your opinion doesn't matter, right?
Right, I
It's
agree.
facts,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
so it's best to seek the facts. But that's the whole thing with like political opinions is like
I'll try to remember and I'll try to look it up and we'll talk about it. I'll try to put it in the description of this one if I remember.
Sure.
But
So where we are going with this is that your opinions politically do not matter. There is a right and a wrong, right? So
I think there is nuance in the world. I think that's
no,
important not to forget.
no, because here's the thing: what should you force people to do? So the whole
I don't think you should force people to do anything, but I think there is still nuance.
I don't give a fuck what people's opinions are of what they think I should be forced to do or to not do. Your opinion could be that something I say is hateful and that my hate speech should be regulated. Well, that's a bullshit opinion.
Right.
There's no truth to that. All you're doing is censor. You're telling me I can't say stuff that offends you. So I don't give a shit about your opinion there.
Right.
But when it comes to actual like solving problems that we can measure and people have opinions about it, that's ridiculous. Like the whole Green New Deal. That's her opinion. That's AOC's opinion on what we should do.
I can't remember what that one was.
But it's asinine. It doesn't make any
Right.
mathematical
Is that
sense.
chick who's like trying?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Yeah, she's like a Muslim chick or something like that.
No,
who's like,
she's not. I think she's like
does she wear a
Puerto
hijab?
Rican or Cuban. No, she's not Muslim. No, she's like
she's a congressperson, right? Who's like trying to take money in order to. Or she works somewhere. She's like my dad was telling me about. She's like trying to like to turn some kind of like wherever where is she? She's like a senator or something, right? Not a senator. She's like a mayor or something like that. Congresswoman. She's like trying to take wherever she resides over. She's trying to turn it all green and like by the end of like whatever 2020 or something like that.
Green New Deal, yeah, that's AOC.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a laughable thing, but
Is that still going on? Maybe I'm thinking. Of
no,
a
it
different
got shut. Well, I don't know what the status is. But
I
it got
might be
shut
thinking of
down
something
pretty
else.
because even Democrats were like, "This is fucking stupid." So, but I do think I should probably wrap.
Yeah.
up.
Do we want to wrap it up? Okay. This is a really good. I really wish we we recorded the first part, but I think we should do this again. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm down.
This is.
Next time we do it, like if you want to let me know what topics you want to hit.
Well, I kind of like just kind of walking in here.
I'll try to.
We need a Jamie. We need a Jamie to be over there and just
To
like fact check
us. Yeah.
What was the one I said we were going to look into? We were going to look into whether like mass shootings were rising.
rates.
Yeah, let's look into that and see if that because I've heard the other, but But we'll look into that, and I'll try to remember to put it in the description of this. But yeah, this was fun, man. I enjoy it. You're a good conversationalist. You got a lot of interesting ideas. So
I wish I wasn't so tired. I feel like
yeah, let's get it. Yeah, let's get a day where I don't. Maybe we shouldn't do martial arts before, even though martial arts is fun.
I might have to just do it earlier in the day so I'm more fresh. I'm like shutting down, man.
Yeah, let's. We can do it in the morning or something if you want to do it then.
Oh, wow, if I ever had a morning available.
Yeah, I know you're busy. You're busy. You got 2 businesses and a wife and a kid and a dog, but come back in sometime. This is fun. Yeah, right on. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Shake my hand. There we go.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thanks guys for watching. If there's anyone watching, I hope there is. Later.